Okay, you three have, through some various means, signed on with a campaign that is going into Sylvania. We're in the old world, the world of Warhammer. Sylvania was once an empire province a long, long time ago, but it has since fallen and has been this way for centuries. It's the land of vampires, the Midnight Aristocracy. It's a grim land, notoriously dark and rainy and cold. You are from Stirland. Stirland is the next province over. It is it's on the fringes of the empire. It's still a lot more advanced than Sylvania. And you signed on with a Marshal Joachim Helbrecht III. He's a noble. He's from Stirland, and the Lector Volkmar the Grim decided to proclaim that Sylvania had to be reclaimed and had to be cleansed of the undead taint. And Joachim, the Marshal, decided he was going to be the first one to reap that glory. And so you have signed on with this force of about 300 men. It's going to make its way into Sylvania, and the objective is to capture and retake an old castle, Van Heldenschloss, which was once like a wizard's tower, a place of learning, a place of light and reason, and has since fallen to ruin. And so you're going to stop in 3 villages along the way and make your way to the castle. So you're in Stirland at this stage, at the very border. You're in the military camp. It's already there's a bit of drizzle. Gunter, you are in the baggage train, and you're currently like making sure that everything is packed up and everything is appropriately stored and whatnot. What are your thoughts going into this adventure?
So Gunter's like starting to like cover some of the supply places as the rain's coming in, just to make sure nothing gets messed up. And he's surprisingly optimistic. He doesn't exactly know what he signed on for yet. Like, he doesn't quite understand where this is actually going. He grew up a poor, just street rat. And now he's getting paid and he's getting fed. And he's pretty excited about that. And I don't think he quite understands the nature of what's going to happen as they go forward.
If you like, you could make a rumor roll to find out what you know about Sylvania. So
I will do that.
What you need to do is you need to roll under your skill. Do you have rumor?
I believe I do. Yes.
Okay, and I think that.
And how do I tell what I? So I get plus 10%. That's
right.
Fellowship.
If it's fellowship, then yeah, I'm not sure. Is it? Do you know? Does it say next to it?
It has a parentheses F next to it.
Yep. So then you just need to roll, take your fellowship score, whatever it is, add 10 to it, and roll under that.
All right. That needs me to roll under a 56, and I got a 50 on the dot. Excellent.
So I think that you, Gunter, would know about Sylvania. That it is haunted. The whole country is haunted. It's filled with ghosts and ghouls and zombies and skeletons. That's what they say anyway. They say that it's a place of like dark sorcery and evil. But you know people from Sylvania. You've like dealt with them before. They seem to you like peasants. So even though you yourself are a peasant in Stirland, they're like more simple, you know? If you can imagine that like Stirland might be like the start of the Renaissance, Sylvania is very much in the Middle Ages. And so, yeah, that's what you know about Sylvania.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think that would like kind of give Gunter a little bit of a purpose going in. Like these people are like him, perhaps even worse off than him somehow. And while he doesn't exactly contribute a lot to the military, just being basically a baggage boy, he still feels this kind of sense of like if these people need help, then we should help them, because if I were them, I would want help.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you're packing up, and there's a couple of other people that you know, people that you might have like lived with previously, but mostly it's a lot of runaways and things like that in the baggage train. People who are keen to get away from Stirland and like see the world. Although people usually tend to go south as opposed to into the dark east. So Thaddeus, you're like in the there's like this big marquee sort of tent that's been set up with like real simple benches and tables, and there's like some hot wine and some gruel being served to the soldiers before the march begins. You can see that all around you are your unit, and I say that in quotation marks because there's no unit coherency. These are people you've met today. They're just whoever has signed on, whoever has decided to come and join up. So you can see all kinds of different warriors, people like totally mismatched in terms of like what their equipment is. You can see like some heavily armored men with like halberds. You can see others like barely armored at all with like pistols. How do you feel about going into that unit?
Very unsettled. Thaddeus is a military man by occupation. It's been his profession for some time, so he has a pretty keen eye for it. And this lot are very unimpressive. He thinks even the way that they go to the baggage train to grab to like hold out their bowls and get the slop plopped in, there's no orderly line for it. They're talking all way too loudly. I look about at the men of the unit who are stationed on guard duty while it's mealtime, and they're all looking inward hungrily, salivating, not looking without, not appreciating the extreme danger that we are in. So he spits and like sticks a tongue up into a tooth hole, top of his mouth, and pulls out a bit of, well, who could guess what it is from the gruel, but he spits that down into the black, lifeless soil and gives a whistle out of it. Looking about.
So, William, you would see this mustachioed gentleman sitting opposite you. You haven't met him before either, and he like sucks something out of his tooth and spits it onto the ground. You can see that like a look of distaste and maybe like discomfort on his face. You've seen the same things that he has seen. This like sort of shabby arrangement, the sort of not the sort of clean discipline of the Empire soldiers who are like stationed across from you. You can see there the guards are like burnished and polished, and they're looking at attention. But here it's a different story in the mercenary camp. What are your thoughts?
William sits across and is looking around as well, and there's an obvious look on his face that he doesn't want to be here, and it just gets worse over time. You might get the idea that he may not have signed up for this willingly, and but also as a military man, not really sure if he believes the stories, but pretty dissatisfied with this crew that's been gathered to go into Sylvania. He's toying around with the weapon at his belt and taking his blade an inch out of the scabbard and mostly just fiddling and seeing this man across from him, and he seems to be equally displeased, but not knowing him, says, "Problem, friend."
No more than yesterday. He gives a grim smile.
You're right there.
I guess we can praise Sigma for small mercies. At least it hasn't gotten worse, he says. And probably take a bit care with the end of that sentence to like dip it down in volume so that other people who might be like eavesdropping on Willie and myself won't hear that remark.
Yeah. Sigma. Yeah. Well, why'd you well would I know that C. Thaddeus is a mercenary type or more of a Empire soldier type?
He's actually been both, so it's up to you. He was a sellsword before becoming a soldier.
Okay. So I think that myself being a sellsword and sort of traveling with that unit, he might assume that you were. So he'd say, so would you sign up for this mess for?
I presume the same reason as you, he says, and then like cocks his head up and says out loudly, "For Empire and the Emperor." Then he gives you
for Sigma!
a wry wink at all these young green bloods and like old men who've signed up for the promise of loot, and like there's a kind of look of like derision on his face at them. Well, at least they can cheer in unison.
And William would join in, but obviously forcefully or reluctantly in that cheer.
There's a grim-faced sergeant that comes in. He's like portly, bald, with this thick sort of like mutton chop sort of mustache. He like looks around and he can see like this big long table that you're sitting at, and he comes up and he goes 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, counting out different people. And he goes like the length of the table and the next length of the next one, counting 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. He gets back to the front. He goes, "Ones, with me. You're in the baggage train. You've both been given number 1."
As fate would have it, he nods towards Thaddeus.
He like heaves and gets up. And you can see like now that he stands, although it looks proportionate from like the groin up to the head, like length height wise, his legs are kind of bandied and short, giving him a strange looking appearance. Kind of like it suffers for some kind of dwarfism, but only of the legs, like the disproportionism is there. And he kind of walks like bandied legged, kind of like a crotchety old cowboy. But there's a confidence to it, which tells you this is not the first time that he's marched through a hardship. And he'll like he'll like pick up his weapon and sling his shield across his back and fall alongside you. Now maybe he notices some token or the like upon your shoulder, around your neck, and maybe remark upon the mercenary company that you used to be in, and pretty much like engage in idle chit chat, but nothing too deep. He's always got kind of like a wiry or beady eye, kind of shifting to the side, checking out the periphery, trying to quieten the rising worry, anxiety within him. He'll trade stories with the other self-sword. I'd say it wouldn't take long before he gets a sense from your words, Vargas, that you're an experienced man yourself, and there's a kinship of men who used to be sellswords, just from that commonality. So yeah, he'd like walk alongside and talk congenially as he begins to follow out the portly sergeant's orders.
Definitely, and you would get the sense that William, similar to you, is, I guess, careful with his words or how much he shares, but more in a way that he's overly talkative and boisterous, but is always sharing less than sort of what he's giving, I guess, in conversation. But yeah, we would definitely get that feeling of camaraderie.
Oh,
I can respect the lack of mouthiness. That would become apparent even if Thaddeus doesn't say it.
There's like this little boy, I guess he's like maybe 16, no beard, anything like that. He's got this like fresh-faced look. He says, "Oi, have you been here before?" to the two of you. You both look kind of veteran.
Hi. I've been east before. What is it, Barclay?
Did you ever see a vampire?
Vampire.
My ma said that there's vampires and that there's ghouls and that there's skeletons that walk. You ever see them?
Thaddeus nods. Only one.
He like wasn't expecting the nod at all, and his like face drops. Really?
He nods like quite matter-of-factly, blinking a few times with like eyes wide.
William looks between them and says, "Never."
Oh, I gotta go tell my friends. Pray Sigmar. And he like clumsily like punches his fist onto the leather that he's wearing. And he like walks over to this like, group of other boys, and he's like talking excitedly to them, and he like points at you two, and they all like look like afraid.
I'm going to pick up a stone and toss it at one of them and try and hit him hard in the back. Give them like the use of a snake noise. You disperse. Get to your orders.
Yeah, they like bolt pretty quickly.
Just because I'd rather busy them than have them like spread fear through each other.
Yeah. Gunter, you would see like this mismatched like troop come out of the beer hall. Men of varying sizes, varying equipment, like some of them armored in heavy plate, some of them armored in nothing, some of them with like sticks, while others have like great swords. The whole gamut of like warrior to peasant coming out of there. And they begin to like stand idly around the end of the baggage train. Like a couple of them are like walking up to some of the things you've packed up, and they're like pulling up canvas and like looking and stuff like that.
And as some of these men come out, Gunter is just looking at. I imagine there's one in particular that has like full mail armor and like this huge sword, and Gunter is just almost like idly staring at this knight, this kind of image of glory and strength with admiration.
Yeah, he like sees you looking. He's like this man in his like 40s. He's got a thick mustache. Like sees you looking, and he just like glares for a second, then turns back and spits onto the ground, talking to another armored man. The sergeant begins shouting orders, and the column begins to march. It like spreads throughout. He says, "All right, let's go," and it kind of spreads throughout. You hear other sergeants like bellowing similar orders. And so first, the Knights of the White Wolf. These are knights from Middenheim. These are some of the most ferocious and impressive warriors in the whole empire. Their horses clad in plate barding. They themselves, all like huge northern men. They have thick beards. They all wear these white wolf pelts. They have these massive hammers that like hang, that they carry in their right hands, and these enormous shields like a wolf head in their left. And they kind of like through the thick muck past the baggage train. Following them immediately afterwards is the Marshal and his honor guard. The Marshal has the most impressive hat that you've ever seen in your life. It's this enormous sort of floppy hat with these huge feathers and plumage and stuff coming out of it. He's got this comically long twirled mustache. Every image of a empire noble. Behind him, the Lector, who's like a religious figure, I guess equivalent to like a cardinal or something like that. He wears this thick plate, and he's got this like steel band around his bald head. And next to them, the Bright Wizard. He has bright red hair, a bright red beard. Everything about him is like red and fiery, and there's fire in his eyes. So they ride past. Following them, you have the Spearmen, this regiment of Imperial soldiers, shunk, 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 moving in unison. And behind them, the handgunners with their gleaming muskets. and on it goes. Following them, you have these flagellants who are these like religious fanatics. They all have these like big flails and stuff, and you can see them like whipping themselves in the back as they move. They're like singing this like boisterous Sigmarite hymn. And then the cannons, these two huge cannons, imperial cannons from the foundries of Nuln, roll past. And then finally the mercenaries, and then finally yourselves. And the march begins further into Sylvania. Gunter, what's your impression seeing all this like finery and all these like great heroes?
Gunter is starstruck, as close to starstruck as someone can be in this sort of time. Like there's all these great knights, these fiery people with all these incredible gear and lavishly dressed, and he's almost caught like in awe. He keeps trying to like skirt off to the side of the baggage train to get a better look at some of them before somebody yells at him to get back in line. Just in complete admiration of these great knights.
So you begin marching. So you'll be walking, obviously, as will most others. The knights and the marshal and the wizard and stuff are mounted, but everyone else basically has to walk. You walk along an imperial road, heading further into Sylvania. And there's like a real obvious and sudden change in weather, basically 2 hours into your trip, as you kind of like begin to enter Sylvania proper. It becomes darker. Any sort of hint of sun is gone, and it's very, very overcast, sort of grey. There's this rain that falls pretty consistently and continues into the hours as you continue walking. Thick forests all around. The roads tend to cut right through forests, and so the tree line is never too far from where you're walking. And you possibly, particularly Gunter, having like heard all these rumors and stuff, looks carefully into the tree line, watching for any sort of sign of like wolves or bats or anything like that, although nothing strikes you. So you walk for the guts of a day in this rain, and by the end of it, you know, your boots are soaked, your socks soaked, your hair, everything. And there's like this great chill that goes through you. And that evening, you begin to approach the first village that you're getting to, Siegfriedshof. It's kind of on the very, very border of Sylvania. And as you come in, all these excited peasants kind of like run out, and a lot of them are cheering and stuff. And they like, particularly when they see the knights and the marshal and stuff, they're like, there's like people clapping and cheering and like welcoming you into the village. And people like throwing flowers in front of the knights as they walk, or ride, I should say, into the village itself. The idea is that you would camp on the outskirts of this village, and you can eat and relax here for the evening. I'd like each of you to make a resolve test to see how exhausted you are from today's journey.
So if I don't have resolve, it's just a flat willpower.
Yes. Yep.
And we
I
roll a
failed.
percentile and want to get under the score that's in that box.
Yep. You want to roll percentile and get under either your willpower, or if you have resolve as a skill, then it's going to be willpower plus 10.
Okay, yeah, sweet.
I
I got a
failed.
43, which is my actual willpower, but because I have resolve, that means I got 43 out of 53, so I'm all good.
Okay.
I failed as well.
You failed? Okay. And what about yourself, Ben?
Failed.
Okay. So both of you, you feel this like exhaustion settle into your bones after a day of walking in the rain through these like tense forests. You felt this like wrongness about Sylvania kind of not long after you entered it. You felt that there's something off. At home in Stirland or like in the Empire, forests are a place of like contemplation, a place of hunting and excitement and joy. But here there's just like this dread that hangs over the place. And I think it's exhausting. And by the end of the day, you have gone down one level on your peril track, which doesn't affect you yet. But if you continue to suffer peril, you'll begin to have drawbacks on your rolls and things like that. So you pull into this village and everyone kind of like starts to relax, and tents get put up and billeted and things like that. Various sergeants grunting and shouting for work to be done. And about an hour into that process, when the place is like set up, there's this little congregation comes from the village. There's 6 men. They have those like pointed sort of peasant hats. A lot of them have like big noses, red noses. And Gunther, you would notice that these look like a caricature of peasants. Like if you were looking at the newspaper at home in Altdorf or somewhere, this is what they would draw a peasant like so rubish and so primitive. This is what the peasants really look like here. But there's 6 men and they come with this girl. She's probably 14. And she's in this white dress, and there's a rope around her neck, and they tie the rope to a tree, and then they like look worriedly towards the army, and then they step away, leaving her there.
Gunter would lean over to whoever was nearest to him, and kind of like pointing over at this girl that they tied up, just ask like, what are they doing with her over there?
Like,
would I know what's about to happen?
You could make a folklore roll, maybe, if you have that.
All right.
Or if any of you have folklore, you could try and make that roll.
Okay, I'm not trained in it, so I don't think I would know if it's like a local custom kind of thing.
Yeah, it's not something you would have seen happen in the Empire ever.
Yeah. I would just shrug my shoulders. I was about to ask you the same thing.
Well, I actually do have folklore, and I did roll, and I got a 34, which is actually under my score. So maybe it suddenly hits him that he remembers something that he heard.
Yeah, you would have heard horror stories about Sylvania and the counts that rule here and the armies of the dead that pass through. And there's this like ancient custom that if an army passes through, they have to, like the village has to provide some sort of sacrifice, some sort of like thank you, so that they are not terrorized. And this is that. They just assume that since there is nobility here and an army, that it's a Sylvanian army. So this girl is like a sacrifice to be given to the commander or whoever wants. She like doesn't look afraid. She looks kind of put out. She's like, it's raining, and so she's starting to get wet, and she's like looking around. It's obvious to you looking at her that she like understands that this is like a tradition and she's been chosen for it. There's like an uneasy sort of, you can see like on the corner of your vision, an uneasy sort of chat going on where the marshal is standing with some of his attendants and stuff, and they're not really sure what to do about this situation.
And I imagine like it took him a second to realize what was happening because he's never actually seen it happen before. But suddenly, like it just hits him like a light bulb moment, and he just goes pale. Not quite understanding what the term sacrifice might mean here. We'll just turn over. Just, someone, no, they have to. And then he's like flustered. He can't like try to find the words that he is trying to say, but he kind of goes into a little bit of a panic, thinking that this girl's like going to get killed.
There's like tension in the ranks as well. You can see like people kind of like whispering back and forth, like what are we supposed to do here? And a couple of like of the more seedy characters like making comments about the girl and her appearance. but still nothing moves, no one moves, everyone's unsure of what to do.
Yeah, I think William tightens his hand around the hilt of his sword and maybe takes like half a step forward. But just in this environment, you know, we're all sort of in service to this marshal, and he's sort of up there. And I think, along with everybody else, he wouldn't move forward much further. But you can tell he's definitely struggling with that. Like he wants to go up there, but he won't.
So a couple of tense minutes pass by until eventually 4 of the marshal's guard kind of like step forward. You can tell that they feel uncomfortable at the situation, like there's all these people watching, and they're unsure what to do. They basically come up and they like cut the rope from the girl's neck, and they lead her like into the marshal's tent. And then a bunch of shouts from sergeants like, get back to work, blah, 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 blah. And people kind of slowly disperse.
And I would visibly relax and turn, and there's probably a look on my face of just resignation. You know, whether it's this or where we're at, or this hearing this story from Gunther, or just all this rain. You know, something, or maybe all of it's affecting him. But he would move back to whatever work it is we've been assigned.
Yeah, so you kind of like put up a bunch of tents and whatnot, and kind of people sit around their tents, lighting fires and trying to keep warm in this rain, trying to dry out their goddamn boots and their socks and things like that. Your feet are just icicles, like so cold, so miserable, and so you might be trying to warm those by the fire.
And I think against what would normally be his better judgment, Gunter his curiosity is too piqued, and I think he would try to sneak up towards the marshal's tent, if it was even remotely possible to do so, just to hear what they might be planning on doing with this girl.
Yeah, okay. So what's your approach? Do you want to literally try and sneak, or do you want to try and pretend like you're supposed to be there?
I imagine it would be actually stealth.
Yeah.
There's no possible way that he's going to be able to pass off being a man of purpose there.
Okay, so then you can give me a stealth roll. I'm going to say, let's see, there are categories for difficulty, which I just don't know. It's going to be slightly easier than normal because of the busyness of the camp. So I think it's plus 10.
And would my rural sensibilities talent come into play on this one, or no?
What is that? Oh, it's like extra
stealth bonus in certain scenarios. I don't remember the specific wording on it.
Let me find it. This is a damn big book. Like
oh, yeah.
600 and something pages, which is pretty intense. Okay.
Jesus.
Rural sensibility. Rural environment. Yeah, this is for sure a rural environment. Yep. So you'll have plus 20.
Sweet.
Ooh, yeah. Is that in addition to my normal stealth bonus?
Yeah, so it's going to be basically your stealth plus 20 is what you need to roll under.
Jesus, so that's I have to get under a 79. And I did, 27.
Nice. Okay. So you kind of like make your way towards this marshal's tent. You can see that there are other people of like your stature, kind of like working and like smashing down tent pegs and like cooking and things like that. And so you're able to like move among those without too much issue. Like most of the nobility don't give you a second glance; they just assume that you're working. When you get closer to the marshal's tent, however, there are 2 grim-faced halberdiers like standing outside of it. But you can like walk past those and kind of sneak around to the side. And like just ever so slightly like lift up one of the tent flaps and like listen. There's like this loud conversation where the marshal is saying like, it's not right, She's a girl, for God's sake. He has this like ridiculous noble's accent. Probably even hard for you to understand. It's so posh. And you can hear the like sibilant voice of the wizard. It is tradition, my lord. It is. Superstitions dictate that any lord who passes through must take the right of prima nocta here in Sylvania. I would strongly recommend that you do not question these superstitions. They have a great power here. So they're arguing basically about what to do. And you would get the impression that what the wizard wants the marshal to do is to have sex with this girl.
That Gunter would become a mixture of relief and disgust. Relief because he was convinced that she was going to die, so at least there's that. But still concern for this girl's well-being, though he's very clearly outmatched. So he's kind of waiting a moment, trying to hear any sort of decision, and see if he can work up any sort of courage, though it's unlikely.
Yeah, so the marshal continues like blustering in posh, just like, oh, well, I never. While the wizard kind of like talks in his ear, the lector is sitting where you wouldn't see. You would hear him breathing like, and he would bark back, "This is a heresy. This is an old custom of an old way, and we do not stoop to these levels. Your sorcery will be the death of us all," and that kind of thing. So they're just like debating it, but no answer seems forthcoming.
All right, I'm gonna roll a willpower test here on my own to see if I do something completely stupid or not. Gunter, for a moment, fantasizes about the possibility of being the hero in this situation and busting in and telling them that they have to let her go. But each thought that goes by of actually carrying out this monumental task against these knights and great heroes stirs up fear and doubt more so than courage. And he's almost just kind of locked into a fear of he doesn't want to leave, but he can't bring himself to act.
So a couple more minutes go by and you listen to this like debate, and you can hear the girl beginning to sob, like she doesn't know what she's done wrong, like why nothing is happening. And then you hear like a "Oi!"
With that, Gunter will leap to his feet in shock and attempt to sprint back off to where he's supposed to be working.
"Oi, you there! Oi!" You can see this like one of the sergeants, very, very tall, like unusually so, and wearing this thick chain. It's like shouting after you as you like run into the crowd. Are you gonna keep running?
No, Gunter is locked into fear. Like a mixture of fear of being caught, but respect still for these knights. So he'll stop dead in his tracks and like turn around meekly, kind of sinking into his already tiny frame.
So
and like wait for this man to approach.
Yeah, he like thunk, 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 thunk moves towards you. He like grabs the front of your shirt. "What the fuck are you doing?"
I
"Speak!"
I'm sorry, sir. I got distracted. I'll get right back to work. I promise.
"Distracted listening under the marshal's fucking tent? You'd have you hanged for that."
I was just worried about the girl, and then like he realizes that he has probably overstepped his bounds and like just stops.
"Right. go dig the fucking latrine. And he like slaps you in the side of the head.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So he like stays where he's standing and watches you like move away, and he like stands outside of the tent now, like looking and making sure no one else has the same idea. And the other two, you're sitting around a fire with a couple of other mercenaries. And they're all kind of like rumor mongering about what the hell is going on with that girl. One of them says, I bet, Silver, that the marshal fucks that girl. No takers? He looks at you, William. What do you reckon?
I don't know the marshal.
He's fucking nobility, isn't he? The fuck little boys, why not a little girl?
Could be. I don't know. Glad she's not dead, though.
Oi, short arse, what do you reckon?
I'll look up from the fire, shake off whatever I was thinking, lock eyes with the man. Of course not. He's a noble. We're here as liberators.
Put a lot of stock in nobility, do you?
Some small stock, he says, eyes returning to the fire.
Just because someone says they're noble doesn't make it so.
We travel in the presence of an Arch Lector. I'm certain that he will give Sigmar's guidance to our glorious Marshal. He's saying this in a way that, like, the older, more experienced man, like people who are like focusing on him, would notice that it's actually like a bit of derision or sarcasm in his voice. He thinks honestly that it could go either way.
Yeah, he like grins widely when you say that. Fucking Lector! They fuck more boys than the nobles.
Then that one must be careful, he says, pointing across like the edge of the firelight where one of the baggage boys is digging the latrine.
Yeah, he like slaps his knee and laughs, and there's a bit of a raucous laughter that goes around. So what do you reckon then? Haven't seen any sign of the fucking dead. You think it's all stories?
Would
I
the
don't trust my
Empire
eyes.
would the Empire send this much steel east if it wasn't true?
Yes.
They think something's here because there's not very many of us as far as expeditions go. And why take a unit of, well, I'm not sure what you would call us, but I imagine we're like the dishonorables or like the unwanted, like we're given the shitty jobs and stuff, and we seem a ragtag bunch. So I'd say something like, they wouldn't, they're taking us as a tester. If they lose us, it doesn't matter. So I think they definitely suspect something is here. Now his words are like clinical and cold.
Wouldn't surprise me if the marshal had come here to take some land of Sylvania, maybe take a castle, grow his holdings.
He'll have to become a wizard himself if he wants anything to grow in this soil.
This riffraff suggests he doesn't believe the stories either.
I fear he'll believe soon enough. And then he like breaks a smile from his face, and like picks a millstone like out of his bread, as if to relax like the men.
yeah, there's a brief moment of like tension as you like suggest that they might actually see something, and then they kind of like go back to their chatter and their whatnot. A couple of hours will go by of you kind of like relaxing and maybe having a drink or something like that, and then it's curfew, lights out, everyone to bed. You can get into your various tents and billets and whatnot, and try to sleep in the chill. Gunther, you've been digging latrines for 3 hours. That sergeant like followed you after a while to make sure you're still at it. The stench is pretty foul. And so when you get back, there's only cold gruel left for you to eat. At the end of which you can like crawl into one of the wagons and try and sleep there.
And Gunther will force the food down. Being around that stench all day, he's lost quite the appetite despite how starving he is. But he forces down the food anyways and tries to find whatever meek sleeping arrangements he can find.
So you managed to sleep, or at least fitfully managed to get some sleep. There is kind of a weird tension in the air, and you'll all find that you have these like unpleasant dreams as you sleep here. You'll wake up frequently with like a as you dream. But daylight comes, although you can barely call it daylight in this hellish country. It's always overcast, always raining, and the sleep has been far too short. When you wake up, you're groggy and exhausted and cold. And the camp is broken, and the march begins anew. And as you, the baggage train are the last ones to leave, you can see that the girl is left behind, kind of standing in the middle of the road as the army leaves, looking forlorn. You continue another day of marching through these like forest paths. Again, the forest on all sides of you, and you can hear today more howling. You can hear this like howling pretty consistently as you march through Sylvania. You march all day long and you rest that night again. I'll need another resolve check, please.
I was just going to ask, from our resting before, does that remove the previous bit on the peril track?
Yes, it would. Yep.
Okay.
Hey,
Yeah,
I
got
rolled a
45.
2. That'll do it.
I succeeded this time.
Okay, so you all succeeded? Good. So yeah, maybe you're getting used to it. The first day is always the hardest day, maybe, and so you rest that night again without any issue. Although you do hear this howling all night. It seems to be coming from all over, and it's answered several times in different directions as you're trying to sleep. The next day, another day of cold, miserable marching, and by the end of that second day, you come to Stierfahre, which is the second village you come to. Although this time as you walk into the village, the people are not cheering and they're not kind of moving from their tasks. It's a small village. There's like a big pig farm, and you can see the guys just like throwing oats and seeds and stuff. He like doesn't look up. He like looks briefly, doesn't smile, doesn't wave as he continues about his work. And that's the kind of general gist as you go through and camp on the outskirts of the village. People from the army go to like get resources, go to get like supplies and stuff from the village, and there's not the same kind of like excitement or cheering this time at all. It's kind of quite grim. Again, this weird ceremony where 6 men come and bring a girl and tie her to a tree near the army and then leave. Again, tension and weirdness about that situation. The girl is taken to the marshal's tent. And you have the same conversations. It's Groundhog Day. This is marching. It's boring. unexciting. It's lots of walking, lots of sleeping, or not enough sleeping, I should say, and just relentless boredom. And so as you sleep that night, you continue to have these like terrible dreams. But at one stage, Gunther, you like wake up and you can hear this like howling again, and you're like rubbing your face. You're so tired. And you like peek your head out of the wagon that you're sleeping in for a second to see what the camp is like. And you can see that there's like a torch, a man with a torch, like walking towards the edge of the wood. He's on watch, obviously. And a second later, his torch goes out and he's like pulled into the woods.
Gunther's heart stops, almost frozen in fear, but after a few short seconds, he tries to heave himself out of this wagon, and find whoever the closest person in armor and with a weapon is, and go up to them, particularly if there was another guard on watch, somebody already awake, something like that.
Yeah, there would be, so he would have been in like one quadrant of the camp or whatever. You could like walk to the nearest guy who's like standing, looking into the forest with the torch held high.
Yeah, and Gunther would go up to him and nervously kind of, sir.
Sigmar. He like gets such a fright as you like move quietly up behind him.
They're one of the men. They were going towards the woods. Their torch went out. I don't know what happened.
What are you talking about, boy?
One of the guards, and he like points over in the direction.
He like turns to face you. He's like holding the torch aloft and he's like looking. What? God, it's late. He what? And as he's like talking to you, you can see this like shape come out of the wood behind him. It's like this sort of gangly humanoid shape. It's got this like long jaw and these really long arms, and the arms like reach out and grab him. One like goes over his mouth, and the other like you can see like this long middle finger like slam into and through his like chainmail and into his stomach, and it like pulls him into the woods. I need you to make a resolve check.
Yes. That is a mega fail. That is a 92.
Oh boy. Okay, so you're on the first attack there. So you see this this creature like pull him into the woods, and as you like stare in horror at it, it like drags him into the woods, and you can hear this like very faint like as it's feasting on him.
With that, Gunther would let out a shriek. Just unbearable noise of terror.
So a couple of people who are like
onto the ground, shaking.
There's a couple of people like pull their heads out of the tent and they look blearily, and they hear this scream, and they can see the thing, whatever it is, at the edge of the woods, like eating one of the men, and one of them just shouts, "Alarm! Alarm!" And it passes quickly throughout the camp. People like ringing bells, like ding, 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 and people like standing up, sergeants all over the place, like, "Get in line! Get your gear!" And there's just chaos all over the place as you can hear this like now this like footsteps in perfect unison. And you can see like in the tree line there are dead creatures, lots of them, and they're particularly from the east. There's like this column, this regiment of skeletons marching towards the camp. Chaos everywhere. Sergeants are like roaring for people to get into line. You can see the Empire soldiers like don't have time to put on their armor, but they grab their muskets and begin like loading them and prepping them, as others like grab shields and spears and try to form up a line. Your sergeant, mercenaries, calls for you to get the fucking line now. Up, grab your gear, go, go, go.
Thaddeus will sit bolt upright from his sleeping pallet, reach for his weapons and shield, after like throwing a jacket over himself, and he like rushes out of his tent just with like his like loincloth and like shirt jacket. He hasn't didn't even get, like put his trousers on properly because he ran out to the sounds of chaos. So in the firelight, when William joins him, he'd see like these scarred, gnarled and twisted bandied legs from about like the thigh, like down to his feet. On one of his feet, he only has one toe, and it's like a gruesome looking sight, revolting. Until you see whatever's the cause of the mischief behind us, I guess. It probably pales in comparison of that as far as gruesome goes, but he stands there on these gnarled, bandy legs, looking for the first semblance of a line to throw his body into to shore it up.
And I think that William pops out of his tent just a few moments after you, and I think that the commotion does kind of pale in comparison, but it's obvious that he sort of notices, but he says, "What's happening?" And he's kind of still a bit groggy, but he has his things.
Yeah, all around there's like screams and people like more like roars of like sergeants and various commanders trying to get the people into line so they can get a formation so they can like stand against what is coming for them. You can see the Empire spearmen, like many of them in their nightshirts, have their shields, and they just like thunk them into the ground and like get their spears ready and brace themselves. While the handgunners like take a step to the side and like raise their guns, and they're holding them ready. The cannon is not going to be useful at this stage, but you can see the engineers like desperately trying to like load and like clean and everything like that. The cannons have been wet, obviously, in the rain, and they're trying to get them all ready. You can hear like the of the horses. The knights seem the most ready of everybody. They're already up, although not armored. And they like have their hammers in hand, and they begin like chanting, singing this like Ulrich-esque war song in their northern tongue. And the marshal begins moving about, getting on his horse with his armor on. He's always had people help him put it on. And he begins to like exhort the people. We have come here to cleanse this land of the undead, and they have come to us. How fortuitous! How unfortunate for them! For Sigmar! And there's like a ragged cheer that goes up. The mercenaries have like lined up in the best manner that they can. They're like people with ranged weapons and melee weapons standing next to each other. It's all a bit of a mess, and that's kind of the last realization you have before the skeletons like move forward. We're going to need you to roll initiative, please.
Is initiative percentile as well?
No, it is a D10, and it's plus your initiative modifier, which is your agility bonus.
Cool. I got a 14 all up.
Okay.
12 for William.
9 for Gunter.
Okay, so 14, William. No, 14 for what did you Thaddeus? Sorry, I wasn't ready to type. I think you said 4. Was that right, Jeff?
9, sorry.
Okay. And what about yourself, Ben? Can you tell me again?
12.
12. Okay, so first thing that you two in the mercenary line would see, there's this skeleton. It's got like this big long cloak over it. It's holding a scythe in its hand, and it like moves forward with total synchronicity with the other skeletons next to it. They're moving like puppets, every single one of them moving exactly the same way until it comes to the actual combat. This one like reaches forward with its enormous scythe and like swings for the head of William. Now, combat. Let's find out how this works.
Exactly.
Okay, so it is going to combat actions. I'll make an attack, which is test as combat. Okay, so you can try to parry. Better roll first. Okay, that is going to hit.
So how do I parry?
So it would be 4 damage. How do you parry? That's a question worth asking.
I can parry for you.
You can do that, yeah.
And I've got a metal shield.
You can do it
unless
with.
you've got one too.
So I've got a wooden shield.
Yeah, I've got an ability here. Shield wall I can parry instead of others. Since my shield's metal, I assume it's probably better if I try and cover.
I'm not entirely sure. Just give me 1 second. I'm just looking it up here. So when you're successfully struck by a melee weapon, before the damage is determined, make a relevant combat-based skill test. This is for parry, referring to the skill required to use your melee weapon. If successful, you avoid all damage. That's for parry. You can also try and dodge. When you successfully struck, you could have coordination. So either you make a combat, so for you it would be like martial melee, I guess, or you could make a coordination to dodge.
Let's try to parry.
Okay, I'm just going to check what the difference between a metal and a wooden shield are. I think that
A wooden gives me +10 parry.
Okay. Shields. Okay, so Okay, so the metal shield you can use to also parry range attacks. Because it's got the protective and defensive. Wooden shield is a light, which means that
+1 damage.
Yeah, +1 damage. Okay, yeah, so it's really much of a muchness. You're going to use an action point basically for this. So Nico, if you wanted to parry for him, you'd also use an action point. You have 3 of those per turn, I think.
If it's much of a muchness, then I won't use my action point to parry. If it could be the same result, because I've got another ability which requires my action point to kill skeletons, hopefully.
Okay, so it comes and swings this scythe at you and you lift your shield up. Go ahead and roll it for me, please. You're going to roll your combat skill or your melee martial if you have that.
Yep. And with the +10, that's a success.
Okay, so it swings this scythe at you and just like you manage to like bring the shield up and like parry the blow, sending the scythe off in the wrong direction. It strikes with this like amazing force though, considering there's no muscles on this creature. It's like still boom, a big shock. You can feel like the wood kind of like warp and bend as you manage to parry that blow. So that is one thing that it does. Then it has, I think you can do that again because it's got action points. I wish that I had prepped more. Where are we at? Undead. Yeah, so it's going to do that again, I guess. Yep. Misses this time though. So the second one, your parry had like sent it far, and so it tries to swing and hit you with the blunt end of the scythe, but you're ready and you duck under it, and it misses you just barely. Thaddeus, your turn.
I'm going to try and step over after this thing's scratched at William, and try and smash into it with my mortuary sword.
Okay, no problem. So just let me check with looking action points how many you have. I think it's 3, but who knows? Yeah, all characters begin with 3 action points at the start of their turn, which are then spent to commit to their actions. You're not required to spend them all, and you cannot carry them over. Okay, so you have 3 action points that you can use. There's a whole like array of different attacks that you could make. If you just want to do a simple attack, That's 1 action point. You can also do like a cold shot, which is a little bit more difficult, but you can add extra damage. And there's like a number of other actions like stunts that you could take. But probably best to just like go for the attack, I think.
Yeah, I'll keep it simple. I'll just try and cut the thing's head off. That's a good start.
Yeah.
And I will use my action point to add a d6 damage to it because of my warrior tattoo. I get 1 damage point because of my punishing feature. Okay, so I roll a percentile for this. Is that right?
Yeah,
I want to get
under your melee, your martial melee.
Martial melee. Okay, 49 then, or better, or well worse. 100.
Oh boy, that's a critical fail because it's if the up to a flying start. If the dice show the dice show the same number, that's a critical either success or fail, depending if you're over or under. 100 is really bad. It's like the worst possible outcome, I think.
Yep.
So let's see. You're swinging for this Reaper. I think that like you go to do that, and like it parries the blow, and like it catches the hook of the scythe around your arm and like sends a sword like flying maybe 10 or so feet away. It sticks up in the dirt, and you are unarmed before the creature.
I might leave it there.
You do still have 2 action points. If you wanted to use one, you could move, I think, and go and pick it up. Movement is walk is 1. You could move for 1 action point, and you still have 1 to defend yourself if something attacked you. This is on page 243 if you have the book open.
Can I move away from a foe like without an opportunity of attack, or the equivalent?
Let me see.
Will this thing allow me to move away?
It can attack you.
Yeah, I'll just brace myself with the shield then. Like since the sword's been knocked out of my good hand, I'll just like instinctively like grab the inner, like the far inner boot, like hand strap of the inside of the shield, and use it like that.
Okay, no problem.
Because I can still try and save William, like use my superior parrying and rely on his output.
Okay, sweet. So the sword goes flying, and you like try to protect yourself. William, you're next.
All right. So as this happens, William, he's already mid-swing. So let's see how this goes. That was a 17.
Good hit.
So that definitely hits. Now I think let's see. I do the combat bonus plus a d6.
Combat bonus plus a d6. Yeah, it's gonna try and parry you.
Yeah.
Which definitely should try that. Oh boy, 91. Nope, you hit.
It's a whopping 1 on the d6, so that is 6 damage.
Okay, nice. So I need to make a quick reference because this is too big a book to be scrolling through to find things.
Yeah.
Good God. Okay, so let's see. What's its damage threshold? You did 6?
I did 6.
Okay, yeah. So you smash it fairly heavily.
Through the ribs.
Yeah, and you smash a bunch of the ribs like through the cloak, and you see them like cloud to the ground. That's it. This like, excuse me, this like terrible shriek. Yeah, it's almost falling apart. You can see that like the magic that's keeping it going. You can see like some of the bones are like floating further apart and stuff. It's not held together quite as tightly as it was. Nice one. Are you done? You can take another action if you like. You have 2 points left, I think. Oh, 1 point left.
I have 1. Yeah, 1 because I parried earlier. So I think. Oh, let me think. So would I be able to move over to Thaddeus' sword and sort of toss it over to him with 1 action point, or would that be 2?
I think 1 would be walk, so it's within walking range. I don't know about interactions in this game. I assume that there's like a, let's see, types of actions. So walk, and then I would assume that throwing the sword is a free, like it will cost 0. So So you can walk over there, but it will opportunity attack you if you leave it.
Oh, okay. I think at that point I'll save it for either another to defend, and William's already sort of changed the angle on his sword and is ready to strike again. So
okay, no problem. So then you're done?
I'm done.
Okay. So behind this Reaper comes this skeleton. It's got 2 heads attached to the same spine, and they both like chatter idiotically as it moves forward. It's got an axe in its hand. It's going to try and swing for Thaddeus. With a 5. That's a definite hit. So would you like to parry, my lord?
Most def.
Yep.
Is this percentile again? Or is it
you're going to be basically rolling your martial melee. To defend.
Okay, 32, well under.
Okay, yeah. So this axe like comes and into your shield. It like struggles to pull it back out, and it's going to swing again. It's actually going to try and splinter your shield.
Metal splinters?
Oh right, yeah, that's a good question. There's an action called Splinter Shield. Make a combat-based test. Foe must resist toughness or shield is ruined.
That cost me every lucky gold I had.
It doesn't make any sense to me that he could splinter a metal shield. So
he could rend it though, like he could if the axe goes down the middle and then it like it'll lose integrity. Same effect, but like I don't think metal would splinter no matter how hard a skeleton hit it.
Let's see.
It would like have its parry bonus if it's successful.
It makes the item ruined, which is like broken basically. I'm just going to straight up attack you. It's easier. With a 16, Jesus, I'm rolling well. So another parry, Lord, if you have more action points.
Well, did it cost me an action point to do that one?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So if I do this one, then I'm down to 1 left. Okay. Cool. I'll spend it. Better to spend it now than die with it. Fuck. 93.
Okay.
I imagine like because he like pulls the axe out, because it's a skeleton, like it doesn't behave in the way that I'm like trained to parry with shields. So it's just like unexpectedness of it. And as I like bring the shield up high, it just like cuts down diagonally low and slashes me open on my my bare scarred legs and blood splashes.
Because you'll take 4 damage from that.
How do I know how screwed up? Do I put that on the peril condition track?
It would be the damage condition. That's a good question. I got to find out. I think there's a certain point where you start to take injuries and whatnot. But who knows?
Serious injuries.
So it's your
determined damage condition.
Your brawn bonus
plus your armor
plus your damage threshold modifier, which is
5 for me. So 4,
nothing.
5, 9.
Nothing, because we're not wearing armor.
You have a little bit of armor, Nick. You have leather, so you've got +1 for that.
Yeah, so my damage threshold is 5. My brawn bonus is 4. So 9 is the number that is the magic number.
I think so.
So that was -4 from you, right? So I'm on 5. So I'm nearly like half health.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what the +6, +12, +18 is on the threshold.
I think that's if you level up.
Okay, so that's for if an attack hits you and does that much over your damage threshold, you immediately get like a moderate, serious, or a grievous injury. So that's how that works. So if like somebody does so much damage to you that it's like that much above your damage threshold, you know. So the way it'll work is your damage threshold, if they go over it, you will go down the damage track.
I got you. So your damage threshold is just your armor rating, and then the boxes are for how much over that.
Exactly. Okay, so you take 4, so you're not under your damage threshold yet, and that is the end of that skeleton's turn. Following behind it is another skeleton. This one has no head. It just like has this spear in its hand, and it's like moving forward. Although it like does this comical thing where like its spine like looks as if it's searching for a target, and then stabs forward towards you, William. But it misses with its first thrust. It pulls back again and tries to hit you again, and misses yet again. So this, maybe because it has no head, is struggling to see you, struggling to target you, and it's like thrusting this spear back and forth, but manages to not connect. Gunther, you can see this ghoul, this like hideous creature with this like long face and long arms and long fingers, like devouring what is left of that watchman. It's like it pulls out this like long stringy piece of meat and then looks in your direction. It's your turn.
Gunther's still like on the ground, just like on his butt in fear. He had fallen from before, and I imagine Gunter is just going to try to run towards the cart that his staff is in and try to get to that. So I don't know how much movement I need to do that, if that's just going to be 1 point.
Sure. Yeah, I think you could walk there. Yeah, so that would be 1 point to walk there.
All right, and I'm not going to use it necessarily this turn, but just I am curious. I do have a bottle bomb.
Okay.
If you have a way to find out what that does, because
yeah.
I may want that at some point. But in the meantime, once Gunter gets to his staff, he's just going to basically, in one hand he's clutching the staff, in the other hand he's holding it, this holy symbol of Sigmar that he has, one of his prized possessions, and he's just basically clutching both like a cowering child, because that's what he is.
Yeah, so just terrified, looking at the undead horde. The ghoul like reaches down and pulls like the heart from the man and eats it, and then begins like walking like a gorilla, sort of like on its knuckles into the camp. It's like looking around and sniffing for targets. See if it notices you, Gunther. It does not. So it like does this horrifying thing where it like moves and it's like close to you, but it doesn't stop. It like walks past you. You can get this like awful grave stench as it walks past, and towards the back of the lines that are defending against the skeletons. Back to the top of the order, the Reaper is going to swing down its scythe upon you, Thaddeus, but it misses the first. There's too many skeletons in the way. It like tries to swing over, but isn't able to, and then it swings back in the other direction. But this time it hits and connects. So it's a parry.
That's still Thaddeus, right?
Yeah, Thaddeus.
Like you don't win a battle by defending yourself, so I think I'll fucking take it and save my action point to try and do something against these enemies.
Okay, so it's going to be 4 damage.
Well, just to clarify, you get 3 points at the start of your turn,
Yes.
right? So if you
Yep,
have
so you have
left
3
over,
again.
Oh, turn.
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was like per encounter you've got 3 to use up your sleeve.
It's per turn. Yeah. So you have 3. So if you want to parry, you certainly can.
I definitely will. Yeah, I definitely will. Thanks, Jeff. You sensed my lack of understanding. Yeah, I'll try and parry with the metal shield. Yeah, I got an 18, so well under.
Yeah, no problem. There's like a ding as you like block the scythe blow. The skeleton lets out this like waits. Thaddeus, it's your turn.
I am going to try and smash the skeleton's head in with the rim of my shield, like two-handed.
Nice.
I was about to say lift it up over my head, but that's still not going to be very high. Maybe it's probably better if I try and like smash its legs or arms. Actually, if it's like this big Reaper skeleton, I probably can't even reach its head. I'm only 5'6". Try and smash its body with using the rim of the metal shield like a big, I don't know, like caveman rock.
Yeah, no problem.
Here we go. And I'll use my action point to add D6 to that, to the damage from my warrior's tattoos. And I got 88, 2 fat ladies, and it's the same number and I fail, so that's even worse, right?
Yes. The Lord. God. Yeah, so you try and like smash into the legs of this creature with your shield, but maybe it steps out of the way and you like thunk into the ground with the shield. It was like a jarring impact. I'll say that you need to use an action point to pull yourself out of the muck.
Can I do that now, or does it have to be on my turn?
It can be now.
So if I do that, then it means I've still got 1 left till the start of my next turn with which to parry. Would that be correct?
Yes.
I intended to use 1 on that attack. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So you don't need to with that tattoo thing. You can say after you've hit that you're going to use it because you know.
Okay, so I've actually got 2 action points up my sleeve if need be. Then.
Yeah. So
Okay,
if you
cool. I
use
thought it
this
was
one,
like
you'll...
hedge your bet.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so yeah, are you sure you can pull that out of the ground now, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's all, anything I got.
Okay, William.
All right, and this Reaper's still in front of me, right?
Yeah.
So I was.
The other two.
Yep. So I'm already mid swing on the Reaper again. See how this goes. That is a 1.
1.
So is that a critical hit?
I don't think so. I think it has to be doubles for it to be a critical hit. But like a 1 is so unlikely that I'm going to say it is a critical hit because it's just like fucking ridiculous. So let's find out how that works. Whee!
That's weird. Like an 11 is better than a 1 potentially.
Yeah, I
even though
don't
you're
know.
trying to go low.
Yeah, it's kind of odd. Okay, where are my crits at?
I can imagine these will be deliciously gory.
They're going to be terrible, yeah.
It's not as good though when you do it against a skeleton, like they've already been putrefied and maimed and screwed over.
I mean, this is just far too large a book. I'll just do a search and hope for the best.
Okay, so
400 results. It's not looking good, guys.
A 1 is always a critical success, and a 100 is always a critical fail.
Amazing.
And then you've got the matching thing that does the same thing. Now, what does a critical hit do in combat?
Let's find out. Attack. Doesn't say anything about critical hit in the melee attack section, but who knows? Maybe it's somewhere else. I would say that we'll add an extra D6 Fury die would be my first guess, and then there is a table somewhere in this book. I did see it, but Jesus, I mean, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? So let's just go with that.
Go ahead and roll your damage, and I'll see if I can find the table in the meantime.
So if it's 2d6, that's 14 damage.
Ooh, okay. Well, you've fucked it anyway. It's dead. So it doesn't really matter what the injury is. Do you want to tell me how you murder the skeleton?
Yeah, so it's another strike from the opposite diagonal side. So, you know, happening as quick as this does, first the ribs on one side are shattered, and then the sword comes down again from the other direction, shattering more ribs. And then as it strikes sort of the spine pretty much, with all these ribs basically gone, it just shatters like the back end of the spine where it connects to the tailbone. And the whole top of the Reaper just basically falls over, and you have these legs just standing there.
Yeah, kind of comical actually if it wasn't so horrifying. Like the two legs continue standing there, and they're even like doing footwork as if they're fighting, while the rest of the bones just like plummet down onto the ground before the legs follow. There's probably a small moment of elation before like several other skeletons move over the bones.
Yeah, and then I think after that he you know, seeing the two other skeletons and the trouble Thaddeus is in, he's going to sort of maybe edge his way a little bit towards Thaddeus to maybe help, and then take a defensive position with sword and shield.
Yeah, no problem. This two-headed skeleton chattering sort of maddeningly, just like speaking to itself almost. It's going to swing out with its axe towards you again, Thaddeus. with 21, so that's going to hit. Would you like to parry? My lord?
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. I was yabbering away there. Yeah, I just failed. I got 2 points over, like 2 on the percentile over what I needed.
Okay.
Sigma's not with me. So yeah, it gets...
Yeah, so the axe kind of thunks into your shoulder. It's going to be another 4 damage.
Okay, that's that 4 damage that I would have taken before. So that leaves me on 1.
Yeah. Okay, so seeing its success, it like chatters to itself like and swings again. This time it misses. So like maybe you like kind of accidentally step out of the way like from the impact, and it doesn't expect that, and the axe like skids past you. It's going to save 1 for parrying, and the headless skeleton is going to throw out its spear and try and stab at William. For a hit on the first. Would you like to parry?
Oh, yeah. And that is a success.
Excellent. So the spear kind of like thump against your shield, and then it pulls back and tries to stab again with a 22. Oh, fuck. Oh, boy. So that's a critical success. Can you parry those? I guess so, but I'm not sure.
If critical success truly means double the d6 and parry negates all damage, probably.
Yeah, my guess would be yes. Otherwise, it'll be a very swift game. So go ahead and try and parry that. What I'll do is I'll say you parry, but you're at plus 10%. So like you have to get, because you're trying to roll under. So it's your target is lower than usual. You know, in a negative way.
Okay. So how do you want me to modify my target?
So whatever it is currently, you're going to take away 10 from it.
Okay. Oh, that doesn't matter because I rolled 94.
Okay. Oh boy. Okay. So then, like I feel like I should be pretty clear on this because it might kill you. So I need to be clear on the fact that it is an extra d6 rather than just guessing.
I'll attempt to search the monolith as well.
My injury occurs. Suffering injuries. Oh, here we go. Oh, that's the table, anyway. How is this so hard to find? I don't know. Let's just go with it. We'll be searching here for hours. Right, better get a d6 out. So I haven't been rolling a d6 for the bad guys so far. I'm just going to roll 1d6 on top of the usual damage.
Okay.
Okay, so it's going to be 7 damage.
So that is above the first box of my damage threshold.
Okay, so then it's going to be an injury, a moderate injury, which is the first one. I need you to roll percentile for me, please.
Alrighty. 62.
62. Rattled brain. Okay. So until fully recuperated, reduce your initiative by 3. So the spear, the sharp end like kind of like just grazes your temple, but then like you get smacked by the butt end on the other side, catches you in the side of the head, and you start to feel sort of like dizzy as you look around.
Yeah, he's just shaking his head. So am I lightly or moderately wounded on the track?
Oh, wait. You should be lightly, but it's a moderate injury. That doesn't make any sense. Maybe you don't get an injury for a critical hit. My assumption is that if you get critically hit, you're getting an injury. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you're on the first damage track, so maybe you shouldn't take an injury. Oh, I don't know, man.
I'll go with the injury, but stay on the lightly wounded part of the track. That's all right.
Let's do that. Okay, so that was the headless skeleton. Gunther, your turn. You can see the ghoul approaching the the back of the line of the brave men defending you from the skeletons.
So, doing a quick survey of the battlefield here. I don't know if that would use a point or not. How does it seem broadly like the army is faring right now?
Not great. So the fact that they weren't ready and the fact that like most of the army isn't armored seems to be making a pretty big difference. Also, like the cannons aren't ready. The musketeers are kind of just now getting ready to fire off a volley. The knights were not in position, and so they're riding around. You can see like riding around through the woods, trying to get behind the enemy and stuff like that. So not good. You can see quite a few dead already.
I hate to be that guy, but it's time to be that guy. Are there any
This is
horses
becoming
who have
serial,
lost?
Jeff.
Sorry, say that again, Jeff.
You're muted, dude. Oh, he might have dropped.
Yeah,
yep, there we go.
Of course. So standard. Every time that you speak to a person, that's when they drop.
Yeah, so I'm going to go to you now, right at the end of this dramatic part, and then
drop. Sorry, Jeff, say that again. Any what?
Are there any horses who have lost their riders?
So no, actually, the knights are not around, but there are plenty of horses that are like draft horses that were pulling wagons and stuff.
All right, I hate to be that guy, but I think it's time to be that guy. Gunter is like losing his shit. He's not like, this is too much. And I'm going to try to see if I can keep one of these horses, which I'm sure are terrified, and try to get on it if I can manage.
Sure. So give me a handle animal check.
Yep, handle animal, which I am trained in. That is fellowship, so it'll be under a 56.
It's going to be difficult, which is minus 20 because the horses are panicked and freaking the fuck out at the smell of the dead.
Okay, so plus 10, but minus 20. So,
yes.
Jesus. Oh God. That's a 1.
My God. Sigmar is with you.
Yeah. He does have the holy symbol in his left hand.
Yeah, so you're like gripping that little hammer. It's like so tightly as you like approach the horse, and you're like shh, shh, and you're calming approach, and you're like cooing words, calm it down. It like looks, it's got like its eyes wide and its ears pressed flat against its head. Definitely terrified, but you're able to like mount up on it.
All right, step 2 is just to go. Like, I don't know if Gunter would even remember the way back home, but he would try. Like, there's just no way.
Running towards the village, basically, riding towards the village, which is like behind you when you came through.
Towards like home, like all the way back.
Okay, yeah, no problem. So you begin to kick the horse into gear, and it like eagerly runs away from this terrible place. As you like make a bunch of noise, the horse makes a bunch of noise, rather like boom, boom, boom. You see the ghoul like and begin to follow you with its eyes as you begin to flee as quickly as you can, which is a smart call. So I would say it's 1 action point to calm the horse, and you have 2 left. You can use both those to walk, I guess.
Yeah, well, to ride in this scenario, but yeah.
Yep, no problem. So you move as far as you can. The ghoul kind of like roars out, and you can see it like beginning to, on its knuckles, sprint after you. It's going to run, which means it goes pretty fast, I think. Let's see, run, movement times 3. Yeah, so it's the horse is like galloping as fast as it can. You're like, yeah, like hitting it with your holy symbol as it like sprints away from the battle, and you can hear behind you this like of knuckles like hitting the dirt and like splashes of mud as this like ghoul chases you. It's gaining on you worryingly, but it's not on you yet. The Reaper is dealt with. Thaddeus, it's your turn. You have 3 action points again.
The Reaper in front of us has been dealt with. What's the nearest foe?
So there's the headless skeleton and there's the 2-headed skeleton.
And they're all harrying myself and Willem. They're not one of the ones that's chasing the boy?
No, there's some, you have no idea where the boy is.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's a different creature as well.
The headless skeleton you mentioned that's fighting against Willem, I'll try and... is it adjacent to me? If not, I'll run over and grab that sword that I had flung out of my hand.
Yeah, so both of them have been harrying... Sorry, the 2-headed one has been harrying you, and the headless one has been harrying...
Okay. I'll try and smash the heads in then with the shield, same as before.
Okay.
Oh, that's 2 d20s. There we go. Yeah, 34, so well under.
Nice. Yeah.
To hit with the shield.
I'm
I'm going to use an action point to add a d6 to that.
For sure.
For my elf tattoos.
If fails, it's parry, so go ahead and roll your damage.
And how do I calculate my damage? Is that just a static figure on my character sheet? The damage threshold?
It's going to be, because it's improvised, it's going to be a brawn bonus.
Okay, so that's 4.
Yeah, and then you're going to roll your 2d6.
Okay, and plus a d6 on top of that, or did you factor that in?
So that's with your warrior tattoo.
Okay, cool. So, okay, 7 plus 4, 11.
11. Okay, I think that kills it. Let me just check. Yes. Yep, it's dead. So go ahead and describe it.
I just like smash one head like right down the middle, and it kind of starts to fall apart. The other head like turns at a horrendous angle to like inspect me as I just like semi-capitate it. And I'm going to use like the rim of the shield to like in a backswing take it back across the head of the second head of that skeleton, like well, it's not really lobotomize if it doesn't have a brain, right? But take the top half of its skull off so it just like spatters and like clatters to the ground. I'm going to pick up the spear that it was wielding.
So this one has an axe.
Oh, it's an axe, was it? Sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll pick up the axe that it was wielding and scan around the carnage. Can you take extra actions at the expense of action points in this?
Yeah, so if you wanted to make a warfare check, you could definitely like try and understand how the battle's going. It would be an action point to take battles. Yeah.
I know how the battle's going without a roll.
What do you want to...
I can hear like the scream of that kindly baggage boy, and
Yes.
I want to look around and try and see like meta. I want to try and save Jeff, but in character, I'm just kind of doing that look around at everything while the camera spins around, so you get like a good kind of feel of how fucked we are.
You've got that tonal sort of like...
Yeah. This is in like slow motion roll.
Yeah. Okay, so then you can make a perception or an awareness if you have awareness.
Awareness makes sense, so I'll go for that. Yeah. No, it's not even worth looking it up. I got 87, so it's just like... I'm like disorientated. I'm groggy. Like I woke out of a horrible dream into even worse reality. So I'm just like not myself.
Yeah, I think you like turn to look, and as you do so, there's like this as the cannons fire and like smash into the regiments. And at the same time, there's like this as the handgunners finally take a shot, and like the first like 2 rows of skeletons just like collapse down. And there's like this ragged cheer that comes up from the remaining like Imperial spearmen and like your mercenary group, as the Empire finally gets its fucking arse in gear. But yeah, with the chaos and the smoke and everything, you're unable to kind of like get a good look around. Okay, that was Thaddeus. The 2-headed skeleton is dead, so the headless skeleton is going to try and finish you off, William. But it misses its first attack. The spear thunks against your shield. The second misses as well. So it tries to strike at you twice. It's going to use its final action point to do that again. So it won't be able to defend itself. Ooh! I mean, I thought this was uncommon. It's a 1. Like, I keep thinking that that's unlikely, but it's not, apparently. Okay.
That means that I cannot defend against the damage.
Okay.
Can I? If
You
I've got
can,
my
if you have an action
guild
point,
rule
yep.
thing?
Yep.
Yeah, I've got 1 action point left.
Yep, go for it.
Okay,
Sweet.
here we go, mate. Yeah, 40, straight up.
Okay, so you see this like death blow coming for your throat, the spear like aimed directly at it, and like, and then out of nowhere, just like, this like shield, and Thaddeus like steps in front of you and like knocks the blow aside.
Yeah.
The skeleton roars out in anger.
Yeah, I imagine just those 2 hits on the shield just have me taken aback, especially if what just happened up against my head. And so he keeps taking steps back, gets hit with that, and then the shield comes over. He kind of turns over to Thaddeus, almost like expecting a skeleton over there or something. And
yeah, the skeleton like roars in anger. It knew that it was a kill, and the spear kind of like bends a little bit against the metal shield, and that's the end of its turn. William, it's your turn.
yeah, so William just smiles and takes sort of a step over now that there's both of us sort of engaged with this headless skeleton, and he'll take a swing.
I'll give you +10 because you're on either side of it.
All right, well, I rolled a 16, so...
Okay, nice. So it can't defend, it attacked 3 times, so just give me the damage.
7.
Okay, nice. So you like smash your sword into it. It still stands, but barely. Anything else?
Let's see. I have 2 action points left for this round, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I think he'll wheel back and strike 1 more time.
No problem.
And do I still have that +10 from you?
Yes. Yep. I'm going to say that like flanking, you know?
All right, so that is another hit then. For 9.
Okay, so that blow kills it. So it's kind of between you and Thaddeus is like harrying it from the back, like smashing the shield against it and whatnot. And he like knocks it forward, and you are able to just like slash down through its collarbone and through the various bones, and it collapses into a pile. There's a moment of brief respite. There's no skeletons directly in front of you, though you can see another regiment basically moving forward. And for a second, you can see like up above the tree line, there's a horse with like fiery hooves that's like walking in the air, and some sort of rider atop, looking down over the battlefield. So then, Gunther, it's your turn. You can hear this like of this ghoul chasing you at like a frightening speed, like almost keeping pace with the horse.
So at this point, how close is this thing? How much is it gained? Is it within 5 yards?
It's probably, I don't know what a yard is. It's probably 10 feet behind you.
I think that is within range then. Like Gunter just like reaches down and pulls out of his back this bottle. Like it's got like this just mess of stuff stacked, just piled into it. Like it's just filled with all these various different ingredients. And like he tries like while on the horse just desperately to try to like ignite this thing, and eventually he's able to do so. And he's gonna turn around and just throw this bottle bomb at the ghoul and hope that's enough to deter it.
Yes. Go for it.
Which is probably not going to work out very well. So would that be a ranged attack?
Yeah, simple range, I think.
Yep.
Okay, I have no training in that.
Okay, so then just agility.
Is it agility or combat?
It's combat.
Ooh, it might be combat, yeah.
Yeah, it has a C next to it on the
Yep.
character sheet. So, on Oh, jeez. That's a 98. So that no.
Oh Jesus. Okay.
Like he tries, like I imagine, but like the horse, like bumps, and he just like it just goes wide. It's just a sheet of fire that explodes on
Yeah.
like the side of the road, but
So you like
not even close.
you're like riding on the horse and you're like fishing through your pack. You're trying to hold on to like the mane of the horse as it's like galloping down. And you like pull out the bottle and like it bumps and you like throw it behind you. It like lights up for a second. You can see that there's like 100 eyes in the woods on your left, like looking, like glittering as you like pass and continue fleeing from this hell creature.
Yeah, I'm just going to use the rest of my action points to as much movement as I'm allowed to get with 2 action points on a horse. That's what I'm doing.
Okay, no problem. So the ghoul is going to, let's see, it's not going to catch you. It knows that. Well, it will eventually because it's not going to get tired and your horse will, but it's not thinking that far ahead. It's going to pick up a rock and just like throw it at you. So it's not going to be very good at this, but it's worth a go. So this rock like sails past your head, and it just lets out this like frustrated like, and it like thumps its chest like a gorilla. And you hear it answered in the woods on your left. A couple more like creatures like thumping their chest like apes. The horse is absolutely terrified. It's like screaming as it like runs as fast as it can carry you. I'm gonna have to add some things to the initiative. Where did I put that list? William is on a 9. Okay. The Reaper's gone, the skeletons are gone. Okay, so the start of the round, there's like this this like sound of breaking branches and trees being like moved to the side, and you can see this like hulking creature standing behind the skeletons. It's probably like 15 feet tall, enormous and like heavily muscled. It's got all these like spears and arrows sticking out of it, as well as like strange bony growth like coming out of its spine and its knuckles. And it just like steps forward and it's at this like hideous roar. There's this awful stench. I need the 2 of you who are in the shield wall to make a resolve test.
That's percentile again?
Yes, sir. If you don't have resolve, it'll just be willpower.
Yeah, I failed.
Okay, so then you you go down the peril track by 1.
Okay.
Me too.
Yep, understandable. This thing is horrifying.
Yeah.
And where's the peril track? Page 2 on the character sheet?
First page near the middle on the right side. It says peril threshold.
Oh, unhindered. So unhindered's the first. Cool.
Yeah. So this thing steps forward and you see it like smash into the line maybe 10 feet from you. It like picks up that boy who had like been wondering if the skeletons were real, just like picks him up and with like a sickening crunch just like crushes him in its right hand and throws his body like back to the skeletons, and then roars. Thaddeus, it's your turn.
Now I'm going to pick up that axe and rush towards the foot of this thing as it like picks up the child. Presumably it's like a little bit distracted by crunching this kid.
Yes.
So it's going to use that opportunity to rush in, shield over my head, and axe like swinging back full arc to bring down and try and cut off the leg of this thing. And I'll use I'll use that if I hit. Yep, 36. So that'll be a hit, and I'll use my elf tattoos to give me extra d6 there.
Yep.
Is the axe the same as the shield for damage, a d6, or is it a d8?
So it's the shield was improvised, so it was just your brawn bonus. This will be your combat bonus, and then a d6. The d6 doesn't change. It's like the bonus.
Knowing that, then I'm not going to pick up the axe because I'm better with brawn than I am with combat. So I'll use the shield to try and run like a bull and like smash into the knee of this big thing and try and chicken leg it, like push the knee back through the leg. So it'll be.
You could do a thing called a call shot, since you're trying to do a cold shot, and I think that allows some further misery for the creature. Let me just check.
You can also do a takedown move.
Oh yeah. So takedown, a coordination or athletics. If you charge, so you could charge. It has to resist or be knocked prone, and you gain +1.
I think I'll do the cold shot. I'm not so much trying to knock it down as I am trying to like bust through its knee.
Okay, so it's 2 action points, but it can't dodge or parry. So basically, you use an extra point, but it's not allowed to block.
Okay. Well, I didn't know my result. Like, presumably, I wouldn't have known my result before choosing to do that. So we'll say, what's that? 39. Do I have to add anything to the difficulty, or just simply spend the action?
It's the extra point that you spend. Yeah, looks like.
Okay, cool. So that leaves me with no action points then.
Yeah, so you rush up to this thing. What was your D6 roll?
I rolled 2d6s, right? Because of my elf tattoos. Yeah, I got a 5 and a 6, so that's 11 plus 4, my brawn, so 15.
Nice. That's a huge blow. That actually might do some damage to it. Injury-wise, let's see. There's so many monsters. I'm like trying to find it.
I can't believe I can do more damage with it, like hitting someone with a shield, than I do with an axe.
Yeah, it's an odd one. There doesn't seem to be too much of a downside. I'm surprised by that. It doesn't have like weak or anything, which I thought it would have had. Okay, yes. So that puts it under, just about under its damage threshold. So then let's give it a dank injury. So percentile from your lord.
Cool. 76 is the percentile. I'm presuming that's randomly nowhere near the knee that I was aiming for.
Randomly, it's not, no. But it's a sprained wrist. We'll give it a sprained ankle instead.
Okay.
Until fully recuperated, it cannot hold anything in your primary hand. Okay, we'll give it a strained groin instead. It cannot use movement actions besides take cover and walk in combat. So you like smash into its knee and it bends backwards sickeningly, and like you can see like bones and stuff pop out of the rippling muscle of this creature. And it lets out this like low grunt, but it manages to like sickeningly like stand on top of the ruined leg as if it's not affecting it too much. Okay, and that was you. This horse that's like riding in the air on its fiery hooves like comes a little bit closer. You can see now that there is a pale man sitting on the back of it, bald, incredibly pale, in this like black plate. He holds this sort of scepter in his right hand, and he like points it across the line. And you can see this like sickening miasma begin to like rise up from the ground. I'm going to need both of you to make another resolve.
I succeeded this time.
Succeeded.
Good. Yeah, so you can see others in the line like begin to like splutter and choke. Many of them like begin to like tear at their throats, like in a desperate attempt to breathe. You seem to be you're aware that it's magic. You can like see where it comes from, and so you aren't as strict as the rest. The rest of them begin to like tear at their own throats, and there's like blood and fingers and stuff as people like begin falling dead all over the place. And you can hear this like sort of like loud and echoey from the creature as it like stands or floats above the battlefield. That was the Hellsteed and the Rider. William, it's your turn.
Okay. Where would you say I am at this point compared to the Rider, the Horror, and Thaddeus?
So Thaddeus has moved probably about 10 feet to your left, and that's where the monster is, the Crypt Horror. The Rider is floating about 60 feet above the battlefield, and he's like at the center of the line. You're on the right-hand side of the line. He's at the center, kind of like floating there.
Okay. And how far away did you say the rider was?
He's 60 feet up in the air, and he's probably
Oh, wow.
another 60 to your left.
Okay. So with that, I think that William would rush Thaddeus's aid. Seeing what happened with this horror doesn't really convince him that Thaddeus is going to be doing as well as he has been over there. This thing's huge. And so his instinct is to just rush over there as this is happening. And I think he'll try to hack at the opposite knee.
Okay,
just for flavor, not really trying anything special here.
Sure.
Ooh, and that's a 75. That's a big old miss.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so I think you like hack, and you just like the skin is like that of like a rhinoceros. It's like really thick, and it doesn't like your sword doesn't cut all the way through. Would you like to attack again?
I was just thinking. I think he will.
Okay.
I think at this point, with what's happened so far, I think with what's going on in his mind right now, with the peril, it's not really thinking as tactically as usual. That will be a hit. For 10.
Okay, nice. So you managed to like this time, seeing that the cutting wasn't working, you like invert the sword and stab into the thigh meat of this creature, and you see this like black Icarus blood begin to pour down the leg as you pull the sword out. It lets out another moan, though it's not enough to bring it back under its damage track. Okay, Gunther. Poor Gunther.
You can just assume I'm gonna keep riding away unless there's something that happens to stop him. Like,
okay,
he's gone.
Okay, no problem. So then the ghoul begins running again. It's going to try and throw a rock at you again to knock you off that horse and eat you. 41, which is going to do it. So you're going to take. Oh, do you want to try and? Can you? You can dodge if you'd like to try and dodge.
Yeah, I might as well.
So it's coordination.
Which I do not have, so it's just flat agility, which is one of my good skills. Alrighty. Oh, nope, that's 80 on the die, which is not quite gonna do it.
Okay, so you like can just hear like this, and then thunk, as this like rock catches you in the shoulder. It's gonna do brawn bonus, so it's gonna do 5 damage to you.
That's 2 over my threshold of 3.
Oh my god, you're such a dweeb.
Yeah, why do you think I'm running?
Okay, so that makes you lightly injured, I think, is what happens. I don't think you get an injury until you get to moderate. So I'll just make you do, as a reaction, a animal handling check to stay on the horse.
Alrighty. Oh, god damn it, that's a 96.
All right, so this like rock hits you and you kind of like careen to the left. The horse like turns with you, but at the last second, like before it falls over, it kicks you off and you like thunk into the muck. Let's see. You'll take another point of damage as you like hit the ground, and the horse just like gallops screaming away from you. That's the ghoul's turn.
So just a quick question for the damage threshold. Is that counted per attack, or is it once it's used up, it's used up?
So in my I'm not too certain, but in my mind the way it works is you have a damage threshold, and then it's for each level of damage. So like it goes from normal to lightly injured to moderately injured to, and so on.
Okay, so I'd be 1 point towards moderately injured is the way that you're doing it. Okay.
Yep. And then when you start to get moderately or grievously or seriously, you do get injuries each time. That's my guess. I haven't read enough of the book yet to know, but that's what I'm going to do for this game.
Awesome.
Okay, the Crypt Horror. You guys have your action points back at the start of the round. Is going to look down at these flies or worms at its feet, and it's going to reach down and try and crush one of them. I'm going to roll a dice to determine which one of you it is. Okay, William. It's been an honor serving with you. Oh, it's a 99. That's bad. So it like reaches down with its hand and just like goes to punch you into the dirt. But a nearby spearman like raises his spear up and it punches right into the spear. You see the spear like come through the back of its wrist and it lets out this horrible like and like swings. The spear goes flying and the spearman like stands terrified before it. But it's going to attack again. That one is going to connect. Would you like to parry?
And that's William again, right?
Yes.
And he's just like trying to squish me with his hand, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure it makes sense how I could parry.
Yeah, so to me, the parry is, I guess maybe dodge makes more sense, but like, so in my mind, it would be something like his hand comes down, you use the shield to like bat his hand slightly out of the way and jump out of the way. You know, it doesn't have to be like literally stopping the hand with your shield.
Yeah.
I think the reason they have dodge and parry is so that you can like, depending on what you're good at, I'm not sure. Maybe you need to dodge.
It's up to you. I'll do one or the other.
I'll leave it up to you. You can decide. I'm really happy either way.
Okay. Well, I'll try the old parry then. And that is a 40, which should be good.
Okay. Yeah, so the fist comes down and you manage to like use the shield to just like slightly move its hand off course and jump out of the way, and the fist just like knocks up a bunch of like wet muck and stuff like that into the air. But you manage to avoid getting smacked by it. It's going to attack a third time. That's an 18, it's a definite hit. On you again, William.
All right. And that's a 15 parry.
Nice. So you're just moving as quickly as you can. You're like dodging it, and the thing is lumbering and slow, so you can see the moves coming before they happen, and you're able to jump out of the way a third time. There is this awful sort of like stench that accompanies the creature. It's like the smell of the grave of like rotting flesh as you try and jump out of the way. Thaddeus, it's your turn.
I'm going to try and do the same thing again. Smash through this thing's leg. Try and keep it down. I'll use my, if I succeed, I'll use my extra D6 for an action point as well. So like ball up and charge for a 90, but it steps out, the steps wide, and because I've kind of got like my head resting and my shoulder up against the shield, I just like push all my weight, intending to hit into the leg of this wretched thing, but because it's not there, I kind of overbalance and spill past it.
Yep.
I will. I'll pick up the axe actually, because it doesn't take two hands to do this stuff with the shield, and if something happens to my shield, I'll be screwed. So, I will pick up that axe that was laying around from the two-headed corpse, and I guess begin uttering a prayer to Sigma under my breath.
Yeah, you like mutter the prayer, and there's like this. It's like the wizard summons this like column of fire down on some of the skeletons that are advancing, and you can hear the of the cannons. And
I imagine the light from that like illuminates briefly like a strobe, slobe. Like a bit more of like a smidgen of the vastness of this slaughter.
Yeah, you can see like
my mind boggles as I see beyond how worse it is.
Yeah, there's bodies everywhere, but worse than that, there are more dead coming, and this seems to be like the fodder. Behind them, there are like armored skeletons with glowing green eyes, all sorts of foul creatures that seem much more intent on murder.
Fight on! The foe is nearly vanquished! I'll lie loudly.
It looks fairly hopeless at this stage. That was Thaddeus. The rider on the Hellsteed is going to land, and the Hellsteed is going to like smash into the column, knocking people back 10 feet. And it's going to like very, very casually step off the Hellsteed. The Hellsteed is going to like run forward and just like begin attacking various people, while the creature on top of it, a definite vampire, pulls this like black blade. You can see it's moving very casually towards the command center, the marshal, the lector, and the wizard. It raises its hand and like makes a sort of choking motion, and you can see this like foul magic play around the marshal, while the wizard like desperately chants to try and stop it. William, your turn.
Alrighty. So seeing how much damage I'm not doing with this creature's like hand and knee and stuff, something I like to try is, as the last time it tries to attack me, and you said how large these things are?
It's about 15 feet tall.
Okay. I'll actually change that then. I thought it was much bigger than that for some reason. So yeah, I think I would just continue the same. Just as its hand is nearly on the ground with its miss there. Well, that's an 84.
Yeah, so again, the sword is unable to cut through the thick flesh of this creature.
And that will be it for me. Okay. I am out of action points.
No problem. So that's William. Gunther, you're on the ground. You've been knocked off your horse, and you can hear this like awful, now sort of slow and almost cruel approach of this ghoul behind you. Like it stopped running. It can tell that you're not going to be able to run away from it, and you can hear this like.
I'm actually gonna roll a quick willpower test, which I actually did pretty well at, just for a meta thing. Gunter is just like he's clutching the holy symbol in his hand so hard that it's drawing blood. Like his hand is just in a death grip, just white knuckle. But seeing this thing move towards him, he's just going to start running into the woods and try to hide, however feeble that attempt might be.
Okay. No problem. So you can give me a stealth.
All right. Any pluses or minuses?
Let's see.
I don't know if these things have like enhanced senses or unenhanced.
It does, but I think that'll be like a plus to it rather than a minus to you.
Okay. Makes sense. Damn it, that's a 91, which even with my plus 30 on stealth is still not going to do it.
That's tough
Yeah,
times. So you're like
he
running.
tries, but there's just no way.
You like run behind some trees and you're like standing there like pressed behind a tree, just like but you don't think you're very well hidden.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna ready my staff feebly.
So you can hear like the approaching footsteps, like and it like slowly turns around and it's like standing in front of you, leering at you. It's like very close. You can smell the stench of this creature, and it just like looks at you for a second. It like turns its head to the side like a dog, trying to listen, and like sniffs, and then it attacks. With an 18, it's definitely going to hit. Would you like to try and dodge?
So quick question. So my staff has the defensive quality.
Yes.
What does that do?
It's a good question. I'll find out for you. Trappings.
Maybe easier to block if that gets a bonus. Otherwise, agility is definitely.
I think it gives you
better.
plus 10 parry.
What is it? Defensive? Yep, plus 10 base chance to parry.
Alrighty, that will actually make it slightly more reliable than dodging. So I will Gunter just brings up his staff, like basically guessing at where the attack's coming from. And I rolled a goddamn 1.
Oh,
So it like goes to swing for you with this like enormous right hand, this like long claw, and you bring up the staff and just like you can hear like the crunch of a finger as it like breaks against the staff and like it reels back in pain, or maybe frustration. Maybe these things don't feel pain. Who knows? And it yeah, I'm gonna give it some damage. Okay, so like, yeah, you can definitely see like that hand sort of like crumple, but it's not dealt with yet, and it's gonna swing with its other hand. With a hit. You have action points left.
I'm assuming hiding used one up.
Yeah, and moving.
So between move, hide, parry, that would be 3. So
Okay.
shit.
It's gonna it's gonna be 10. Roll a 6 on the d6.
my damage threshold is 3. So that's
So-
actually going to be +6. That'll be a +6 over.
Oh fuck. Okay.
And I'm already lightly wounded.
Oh boy. Okay, so then it's a moderate injury. A percentile, please.
39. 36. Sorry.
36. Okay, and you're moderately wounded now?
Well, that was a 6 over my threshold. So would that do 2 levels or 1?
Yeah, it will be the next one, so it's a serious. Okay, and you got a 36?
So I'm seriously wounded. Yeah, 36.
Okay. So it's it like takes this claw and it just like doesn't like pierce your skin, but like the fingers like smack against your head as if they're like tree branches. You've got a head trauma. You cannot take special actions in combat until you're fully recuperated. It just like rings your head and you like get this like sort of in your hearing, and your vision starts to blur as this thing wails on you. And that is the end of its turn. That was the ghoul, the crypt horror. Yeah, time for you to die is right, William. It's going to try and swing down and crush you. With a 34, it's a definite hit.
Successfully parried.
Excellent. The next one comes down with a 19.
And parried.
And the third with a 16. Jesus Christ, these dice.
Jeez. This will be all of my points here. And that's parried at 11.
My goodness. So just this like incredible display as you like dodge out of the way and like move out of the way and using your shield to like bash the hand aside. It's just like jackhammering into the dirt. There's like muck being flung everywhere and body parts of like already dead soldiers. At one stage, like punches the corpse of a soldier and there's this big explosion of blood. And that is the end of its turn. Thaddeus, your turn.
I'm going to try and next time it swings down, I'm going to try like drop like for flavor wise, like when it goes to swing down, I'm going to try and crunch its hand with this metal shield and make it drop the thing. I'm more interested in hurting it than I am making it drop the thing. So I assume that's an attack rather than a called attack or called shot that I'm attempting to do here.
Drop what thing?
I want I want to smash its hand. I prioritize doing damage to it over actually making the weapon drop, but that's kind of like a byproduct that I'm aiming for with doing the hand.
So go for attack.
Okay, combat. Now this is not as good, but here we go. 49. Oh, just over. Yeah, I just miss. Unfortunately, I've got three action points left, I believe.
2 you should have. You only have 3 at the start of a turn. You
just doing a normal attack, make one. Oh, okay, right, cool. So I've got 2 left. Can I do any more attacks or anything like that?
You can attack twice more if you want. It's already attacked 3 times, so it's not going to be able, like, you'll have your action points back by the time that it goes again. You know what I mean?
Okay, cool. Good to know. All right. Yeah, well, I'm going to just keep smashing at it with the shield again. It's going to be a 11 and a 17.
Okay, so give me your damage, please.
I'm going to... Oh, I can't use the warrior tattoos because I use my action points up. So it'll just be 2d6 for the 2 hits. 7 plus 3 and 3. So 13 all up.
Okay. So that's going to bring it down to its next condition. So it's now seriously injured. A percentile, please.
Okay. 64.
64 skull fracture. Ooh, that's pretty rad. So you at one stage like brings its head and its hand down, and you like smash the shield into the back of its skull. Until it's fully recuperated, it has to flip the results to fail all skill tests if possible. So like if it rolls a 16, it's a 61. You know what I mean? So that's pretty
cool.
Pretty cool. Yeah, so you just like smash the back of its brain. It like stands back up, and you can see it's like bleary-eyed and like trying to keep its balance as like bits of brain and goo like fall out of the wound. Nice. Okay. The Hellsteed is just like charging through the battlefield. It begins moving towards your direction, and it's going to basically try and knock into you guys. Let's see if we can manage that. 22. William, I'm so sorry. That's going to be a critical success.
I don't have any AP left, so.
Okay.
Oh no, I just used all of mine too.
So, well, that was a crit anyway, so you wouldn't have been able to do anything about that.
Oh, yeah.
But I would have.
Yes, you would have, but it hasn't hit you yet.
Damn. Sorry, dude. I didn't even think of the other enemies.
2, 6, and 4 is 10. William?
So that is above the first threshold.
So are you lightly wounded or moderately now?
I am now moderately.
Okay. Yeah, so this like flaming hoof comes and smashes you. I'll need a percentile from you.
23.
23. So it catches you in the ribs, and you feel this like crunch. Your encumbrance limit is reduced by 3 until you're fully recuperated.
Alrighty.
It's gonna run past you and try and kick at Thaddeus, but it actually misses with a 91. So you probably see it. Yeah, you see it smash into William, and you like move out of the way, and it goes past. The mysterious rider, this vampire, just like walks through the battlefield, and all around soldiers like run towards and try and stab, and he just like casually sends them flying, and it moves closer and closer towards the marshal. It says, "These lands are mine by right. Any now who kneel can serve me, or die and serve me." And it moves towards the marshal. William, it is your turn.
So William's sort of doing this fancy footwork, and he was motioning to Thaddeus, and he says, keep it up. But that's when the horse strikes him in the chest, and he reels back several steps, and now he's just sort of there in front of the steed. And I have no action points, so I will not be doing anything else.
No action points? But it's, oh yeah, you defended.
I had to parry 3 times, so yeah.
Sure. No problem. Gunther, you're face to face with a ghoul. Actually, I'll have you make a resolve test not to go insane, please.
Fair enough. That's a 1.
Jeez.
So here's what happens. You like are gripping this holy symbol so tightly, and you feel this like warmth come out of it. And as you do so, you can see like riding past you and towards the battle are the White Wolf Knights. And like seeing them for a second like bolsters you, and one of them like swings out with its hammer and like catches the ghoul in the side of the head. It doesn't kill it, but it like knocks it away from you for a moment. And then it's your turn.
So in this moment this warmth comes over him. He's tried running, he's tried riding away, he's tried running away, he's tried hiding. None of that works. So like the flight and the fight or flight instinct has failed, and he just kind of goes into almost like a blur, like not even looking at this thing. Just like his eyes are closed, but he just charges, just swinging his staff like a maniac. I'm going to use all 3 of my action points just to attack.
Nice.
And I rolled all 3 of those with a couple sets of percentage dice here. And that is a 27, a 26, and a 33. So that's going to be 3 hits. One of them's a crit.
Sigma's son.
Yes. Whatever you were before this, you're a warrior after it.
Seriously.
Okay, so
These
give me
dice
those
are, like,
damages.
going in the Hall of Fame. All right. So it's 3 hits. So it's going to be a 5 on the d6. And you said, do I add brawn to the damage?
For the staff, I think so. I think it's probably a pummeling weapon. Let me just check.
Yeah, it's pummeling.
Okay, yeah, so then yes, brawn.
Okay, so that's going to be 5 on the die, so that's 8. 4 on the die, so that's 7. So 15. 1 on the die plus 3, which is 4. So 19.
Holy shit, you killed the ghoul.
Yeah, like he just completely goes into like what's essentially a berserker rage. Like just loses, like he's not even in his head anymore. He's just a body. And like he's just like swinging the staff just over and over and over again, just just slamming it into this thing's skull just until like it's nothing. Like he just attacks until like there's no strength left in him to do anything. And just somehow like the blow from the knight knocked it just enough away that he actually just beats the shit out of the ghoul just over and over and over again, just like completely insane, but somehow takes it out.
Yeah, it's like twitching beneath you, and then finally, like it's like fingers curl, and it curls up into death. And for a moment, there is peace around you. The ghoul is dead, but its friends are not, and you can hear the movement all around the forest of like of ghouls and of various. You can hear like in the distance of the, and you can hear the distant cannon shots and stuff like that from the battle that you have fled from. But that is it for that. The Crypt Horror, barely standing, is going to try and pummel poor William to death. Misses its first attack. It's a 31 on the second, which will hit.
It's a 47 that's parried.
Okay, and the third, ooh, a 13. Yep.
And that's going to hit.
Oh boy. Okay. So the big fist finally catches you, and it's going to smash for, oh, it's a d6, a 6 on the d6, for 11 damage.
That is still under my second threshold, so I will go down to seriously wounded, I think.
Oh boy. Okay, then a percentile, please.
Yep. 73.
73. Stress fracture.
Oh, geez.
Oh boy, it's really bad. Until fully recuperated, you cannot counterspell, dodge, or parry.
Obi. No
Fuck.
parry.
Yeah, so the hand just like catches you and smashes, and you can feel a bunch of bones just like crunch. And as you like try to stand back up, you could feel the pain and the slowness. So that was luckily its third attack. And Thaddeus, your turn.
Better kill this thing.
Yeah, I will try to do just that. I'm going to go all out, 3 attacks, being inspired by Sigmar's son. With the shield, with the trash can lid. Okay, so 48. I think that just fucking misses. Brawn, yeah. Oh no, 53. 53 is what I'm going for. So that is a hit. Oh, that means my 49 before would have been a hit too. Oh well, doesn't matter. My bad math. 55 will be a miss, and 4 will be a hit.
Nice.
So 2 hits.
Yeah.
So that'll be 2d6 plus 4 +1. So 15 all up.
Holy shit, nice. Yeah, so you're going to smash the rim of the shield like into the already ruined leg of this thing, and you can see like ligaments tearing and like the muscles being torn apart until finally you like see the actual bone, and you like smash that in half. The creature like stumbles down onto the ground, and then there's like a volley of like various muskets firing, and you can see them like rip through the chest of the creature, and finally it's like and begins to fall forwards. I will need William to make me a coordination or something to jump out of the way, or athletics, whichever you prefer.
Let's see. Let's go coordination. Oh, geez. I needed 55, but rolled 57.
Oh. All right. So it begins to fall forwards, and you're like trying to stand up from that vicious blow you've just taken. And as you're like on one knee pulling yourself up, there's just this like
I'm crab walking out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it like falls on top of you. It's not too bad. It's going to be 5 damage as it like thunks and lands on top. I'm going to say that your legs are trapped under it as it like falls forward into the muck. And you can see like as soon as it falls, like a bunch of other warriors and boys like leap onto it and stab it with swords and stuff, making sure it's dead. So one man is like hammering at the neck to take the head off in case it gets back up. Okay, so that was William. Gunther, your turn.
At this point,
Wait,
Gunther's.
isn't it the Hellsteed and Ryder's turn now? Because that was
Yeah,
Thaddeus.
yeah. You're right. So the Hellsteed can like has barreled off away from you, and it's smashing further down the line. The rider has made it to the marshal and the wizard and the lector, and you can see that there's this like fierce duel going on. The marshal himself is like standing up on the back of a wagon. He's like giving commands, and you can see this vampire which like callously slices the head from the lector in a moment. And he falls down onto the ground. The wizard is like channeling energies, and so is the vampire. They like engage in some sort of spell duel. And then it's William, your turn. Sorry, I actually skipped a bunch of people. Your turn, William.
So I've only got an action point left, and I think I'd be trying to spend that to get out from under this thing somehow.
Yeah, no problem. We'd call it like athletics or coordination, I think.
All right. See if I can get out in a jiffy. Ooh, just succeeded with a 51. So.
Okay. Yeah, so you're pulling yourself out in the muck, pulling yourself out from under this thing, and you're able to like prop yourself up into your elbows and slowly begin standing back up. As the battle swirls around you, another as the cannonball hits, and bones and shrapnel from the cannonball are thrown everywhere. And you can see this like bright sort of magical light as the wizard and the vampire engage in this like duel nearby, swirling sort of colors, purple, red, fire and ice everywhere. Gunther.
Yeah, Gunther's like breathing heavily, just like over the corpse of this ghoul, using his staff to try to hold himself up, like blood running down the side of his head from the massive punch he took. And at this point, I think he's gonna return to Plan A and try to sneak/move away from the fight and just keep trying to get away.
Sure. Okay. So you begin running / sneaking in the woods. Do you want to give me a stealth?
Yeah, that's a 17 on the roll, which is
Okay.
well under
Yeah.
with my stealth bonuses.
So you're kind of like moving from tree to tree, avoiding puddles to make any noise, and like moving as quick as you can in the darkness, hoping to get away. Okay, that was Gunther. The crypt horror is slain. Thaddeus.
I'm going to run towards where the vampires decapitated the Arch Lector. And seeing the inspiring boy, I'm going to point down to the headless corpse of the Arch Lector. Take up the hammer of God! He'll implore the boy. And then he's going to take a side next to the Shit, was it the marshal who was channeling power against the vampire? The wizard. I hate bright wizards. As I'm rushing to like defend him, I have like a flashback to a battle I was in my youth when a bright wizard just like incinerated a bunch of enemies that were engaged by a few of us irregulars, and I was the only one to live out of it, and that's how my young legs were bandied and scarred and my growth stunted. But I'll swallow that because I know that if the wizard falls, the marshal falls, and if the marshal falls, the army implodes. So I'm defending the very thing I hate, and I'm going to use all my action points to do that.
Okay, so to parry for him, basically, is that what you mean?
Yeah, like I'm going to get up next to him and say, I'll use them when he gets attacked to defend him, so that he doesn't use his action points to defend himself.
Yeah,
we want the bright wizard outputting, not defending.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. Okay, so that's Thaddeus. Yeah, this you can see him close now. This vampire, like pale, deathly pale, almost translucent skin, bald head, fangs, and this black plate, like gleaming, almost taking in the light from around it. Got this like black sword with like these red runes running down the center that he holds in one hand, and he's like got his left hand out in front. There's like a beam of energy between him and the wizard as they're dueling, and he's like incanting these foul words. The wizard is like using both hands, and you can see that he's like sweating profusely as he's trying to like keep this vampire's power at bay. And so the vampire like grins, obviously not too concerned. He like takes a sword and swings. So I'm going to need you to parry 3 times if you want to protect the wizard 3 times.
We'll do that.
It's going to be -20 against this vampire because he's so quick.
Okay, so if normally... Oh, yeah, I get you. So what am I trying to hit? I'm trying to hit a 52, but -20. So 32 is my target now. Gulp?
No, the other way, sorry. Yes, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Fuck. Thrice fucked lordship. Yeah, I like try, but like when I reach where I think his sword is going to go, he uses that like vampiric speed to just like whoosh around the other way, and like the sword just strikes before I've even actually finished my parry. He's striking somewhere else. That's how futile I am.
Yeah, but the effort is made nonetheless. But this vampire is beyond the ken of mortals. It just like strikes with incredible speed, and the first time it slashes, the wizard kind of like falters for a second in his spellcasting, but he's like well trained in the College of Altdorf, and he's like trying his best. And again, like the 3 slashes are enough to make him stumble upon his words. And the second that he does so, this like purple energy like encases him, and you can see him like age 100 years in a second. His like skin withers and falls off him, and like in clumps as his hair like turns white and then falls off. His bones like withering away, and he like falls to the ground, ancient and dead. And this vampire turns to you. Valiant, kneel, and you may yet live.
Who are you to speak of valor, creature? I'll kneel to no thing so fell or ill-gotten as yourself.
Then you will serve me in undeath. And William, you are struggling to your feet. You can see that Thaddeus is like face to face with this vampire in front of the marshal. What would you like to do?
William's shield is nowhere. His left arm sort of hangs uselessly from that stress fracture from earlier. But he stalks toward this vampire with his one good arm, still wielding that sword. And he's going to try to make it behind him and to strike.
Okay. You won't get a bonus against this vampire. He's far too quick to fall for that kind of thing, but you can make your attacks.
Okay. And am I just looking for my usual target here?
Yes. His damage threshold is pretty high, though. He's wearing plate, so you might not penetrate it, but your normal target to hit.
Okay, so it was a hit. And it was an 8 on damage.
Okay, just give me 1 sec while I check. Dun, 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 dun. No. So you just like against the plate mail. It doesn't even seem to notice as the blow lands.
Jeez. That's all I've got left to do.
Okay. Yep. So you like strike a good blow against this thing, but like its runic plate just like bats you aside without too much issue. Gunther, you're still running?
Yep, if you need another stealth, it's a 27, so just going to keep on going.
Okay, no problem. So you're still running. You can see that there are monsters in the woods, but most of them are running towards the battle as opposed to towards you. Thaddeus, my lord, your turn.
Seeing the boy I thought blessed still just like fleeing and then eventually out of sight, I guess it's dark. I let out an exhale. Better to go this way than like gut shot and left shivering on the side of the road, or many of the other countless horrible fates. Hopefully I'll be like gifted with ignorance in my eternal servitude to this Lord of Undeath. So I'll probably futilely, definitely stupidly, cast away the shield and pick up the hammer of the decapitated priest in 2 hands. And with a final prayer to Sigmar, unleash everything I have left.
My lord.
I will attack twice, actually. And if I hit on one of those, I'll use my elf tattoos. Here goes. Probably nothing. 21, that's a hit.
That's a hit.
And 80, that's a miss. And I'm going to use my action point to get a d6 onto... Actually, that doesn't make sense. That's mathematically unsound. I'm going to use my action point to make another attack.
Okay.
Wait, that was a waste. So the damage will be 10.
Okay. Powerful means resist with toughness or be shoved out of the engagement. Cool. Okay.
Well, that's plus 1 damage, so 11 damage actually.
11. Okay. That just penetrates his damage threshold, dealing 1 damage.
Classic.
But he has to make a roll with toughness to not get knocked back. It's a 99. He takes a step back unwillingly. This like hammer, runic and powerful, like smashes into the chest of the vampire as he's like not really focused on you. He's like looking at the marshal. He doesn't consider you a threat, and just like this hammer like knocks him back. He takes a step backwards involuntarily. And is knocked out of engagement range with you, which means that you can flee without getting opportunity attacked if you so wish. He takes a step back and like holds the sword out to the side, and his eyes lock on you. I need you to make a resolve test as he stares at you with murder in his eyes.
Okay. He was just like staring at me with like casual grievous bodily harm before, but now it's like real murder he's staring at me with.
Yeah.
28.
Okay, you're good. Amazingly willful man. A certain death looks you in the face. So that was Thaddeus. So he goes next. He's going to move towards you in a blur and strike at you 3 times. With a 27. And another hit. And another. So 3 hits. Would you like to parry? Oh, you use like an action.
I cannot.
Lord. Jesus.
It's okay.
Let me just see here. Fuck. Okay, so it's going to be 11 per strike. For a total of 33.
33.
Yes.
Crikey. Okay. Now I've already taken 4, so that puts I've taken 37 all up. So let's work this out. My threshold. Oh no, my peril threshold was 7, so I've taken 6.
This is damage threshold.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Here we go. Oh yeah, so it was 5. So that puts me 32 over that. 18.
Well, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm up to the last box. I'm up to like over 18. So as far as my damage condition track goes, how many of those circles do I fill in? I'm unharmed at the moment.
Okay, so what's your damage threshold? 5?
5.
So then it would be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So 6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Slain.
Okay. Yeah, so he moves towards you in this blur, and like the black sword just like moves quicker than you could possibly follow. The first like slices your hand off, and the axe in your hand like drops to the ground. The hammer, yes, sorry. The hammer drops to the ground. Takes a step forward and like squelches the hammer into the muck, and the sword just like goes right through the center of you. He like lifts you up into the air for a moment and then just like casually discards you as you fly off the blade. So that's the end of his turn. William, I need you to make a resolve test at -20.
That's a big old fail.
Okay, yeah, you've seen Thaddeus, this like stalwart warrior, just get casually murdered. And then it's your turn. So you should be down to the first peril, I think, right?
So question on the track, do you start with nothing filled in and then go to unhindered, or do you start at unhindered?
I think you start with nothing.
Okay, so he's just imperiled now.
Okay. Yeah, so then it's your turn. Imperiled means something. I think it makes it harder. Oh, no, nothing yet. It's the next one is ignore skills and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you're terrified, shitting yourself as you see this like vampire lord
Literally
wreak havoc. And then it is your turn.
Will backs away, shivering. Let me check something. Okay. How? Actually, first, is the vampire focused on the marshal again at this point?
Yes, definitely. He's like flung Thaddeus off his sword, and he's like looking now towards the marshal. The marshal is like standing atop this wagon, and he's just like barking orders, but he doesn't seem to be looking too intently at the vampire lord, trying to like make sure that the army stays in order while he's still here.
Okay. How far away are the cannons?
So they're kind of the center of the line. You are on the right, I guess. No, you're at the center now with the marshal. So they're probably about 60 or so feet behind where you are, on a little bit of a hill in the center of the camp.
So, being half dead and just seeing what happened to Thaddeus, I think that Will just starts to back away and looks around at the battlefield and everything that's happening now. There's really no way out. I imagine most of any cavalry and most horses are either dead or bolted at this point. So he looks around, sort of spots the cannons, and is going to head over that direction. And I think, I'm not really sure how movement works, but I think he moves 8 yards.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if I can do that once per action point or just once.
Yeah, so you can walk once per action points, or you can run, which is 3 times your movement.
And is that all 3 action points?
Could be. Let me just check. Run is 3 action points. Run at movement times 3, gain +3 damage threshold. But it invokes an opportunity attack if you're moving out of an engagement. So you get +3 to your damage threshold as well while you're running.
Okay. I just think it makes more sense that he'd be running anyway. So we'll do that to run over near where the cannons are.
Yeah.
And just the first Are there any cannons not being used?
No, the engineers are still safe. Like the army hasn't broken onto them yet. And there's a couple of like spearmen and stuff guarding the back in case anything comes from there. So you can see the engineers are like pumping sweat and they're like reloading the cannons and stuff like that. Desperately trying to like put a dent in this enormous force.
Okay, so he would run up to the first one that he can find and yell through all of the sound. He said, "The Marshal, the vampire." He's trying to find the words, and he's pointing back in the direction. It's probably difficult to see what he's pointing at, but he's hoping that with the what this vampire looks like and his quick movements, that they'll be able to see this guy approaching the Marshal.
Sure. Can you give me a fellowship roll?
Can I give you a charm roll?
Definitely.
Okay. And is this guy lowborn? One of my talents gives me a bonus if the person is of a social class other than my own.
So I just rolled and he is.
Oh, what was that?
Yeah, he is. I just rolled to see which he is and he
Okay.
is lowborn.
All right. Well, that's a 29 anyway, well under my charm.
Excellent. So he's like, okay, you're right. It's our only hope. And he like calls out to the, I don't know what the hell the guy is called who like does the targeting. And they begin to like move and adjust the cannons to like point towards where the Marshal is. And they will fire. Do you want to give me a, well, actually, do you want them to fire or do you want to roll the dice?
I think I'll have them fire, given my current condition.
Yeah, that makes sense. So then, okay. Okay, so the first one smashes into the corpse of the crypt horror. It sounds like this rotten flesh, like in a big plume, exploding all over the place, slightly missing. The second cannon, just barely. So it just like smashes into the ground where the vampire is. There's this huge. You can see the Marshal is like thrown when you're looking at it to your left, like up into the air and flung away, and so is the vampire in the other direction. You can see that his like runic sword goes and like thunk into a tree, and he is flung down onto the ground. And they're already trying to reload. Gunther is still running, desperately trying to get away from this goddamn battlefield, and nothing has found you yet.
Another success on stealth in case we're tracking any of that.
Yep, I sure am. Okay, good. So you're continuing to flee. The crypt horror Thaddeus, the vampire, is going to he'll like stand, and you can see that his neck has been broken by the fall. He'll just like stand and like place it back as if nothing had happened, and just like shrug his shoulders, warming them up. He like doesn't have his fancy sword, but he'll like reach down and pick up whatever is at hand. He picks up like the mortuary sword that Thaddeus had dropped at the start of the battle. He like pulls it out of the dirt and begins advancing once more. He begins like incanting some foul words, and you can start to hear this like chittering sound, and you can see this horde of bats, this like enormous flock, swoops down onto the battlefield. And they're like hassling everybody. They come down to where you are as well. They're all over the place. I'll need you to make a resolve test, please.
Fail.
Okay, so you drop down another level on the peril. And you will take 3 damage from like bites as these like big bats like begin biting into you everywhere.
All right.
Okay, that was the rider. It's your turn, William.
Are these guys now firing on my turn, or?
Yes, basically.
Okay, so we could do that then. I don't. He's sort of behind the cannon line now.
Yeah, if you want to roll for them, I can tell you if it works or not.
Okay. 41.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, 66.
Ooh, okay, that's bad news. So the first one connects with the vampire. So he's like walking casually towards the marshal again as he's like incanting this thing. This cannonball just like catches him basically right in the side, and he goes flying up into the air and like goes flying back into the woods. There's like this spray of blood as it hits him. The second though does not go so well. There's like and the cannon explodes. Which is unfortunate for everyone involved, particularly yourself. Could I have a coordination from you? Or you can't dodge, can you?
I don't know that you can dodge an explosion.
Yeah, I'll call it a coordination.
Plus your fracture, yeah.
But I rolled a 24.
Okay, so maybe you hit the deck, and you'll not take the worst of it, but you're going to take something. Okay, so you will take 5. While one of the engineers is just incinerated, immediately destroyed. Another, like, you can see this like shard of the cannon just like catch him in the head, and he falls dead to the ground. And shrapnel like explodes everywhere from the cannonball inside. You're on the ground. You've been pelted with all this like muck and dirt and shrapnel. And one of the cannons has been destroyed, unfortunately. That's probably it for you, I think, is it?
Yeah.
Go through another stealth, please.
Yep, another pass.
Okay. So you're quite far away from the battle now at this stage. You're probably 200 or so feet away. You can still hear occasionally like like these dull thuds of cannons and like of muskets. Although mostly now you can hear the like sort of raucous like of monsters all around. Okay, and then we're back to Thaddeus, who is dead. The vampire. You can't see him anymore. He was been knocked back into the woods. You can see the Hellsteed, though, bright and obvious. It begins running to the woods, obviously, towards him. And your turn.
So I think that after slowly standing up, it's stabbing his sword in the ground for leverage, Will stands up and looks around. Does it look like the explosion caused 1 casualty?
Looks like it caused 2.
2? Okay. And since I can't see the vampire anymore, I would just yell actually, is there like a commander that's in charge of these guys?
Yes, he's dead. He got a bit of metal in the face.
Okay. So I would just say back in line. I imagine they had to move slightly to orient the cannons towards the vampire, and I'm just trying to orient them back towards the coming ranks of the undead army.
Okay, sure.
Go
ahead and roll for me then.
Alrighty. Twice?
Just once. One kind of left.
26.
Okay, nice. So you see it like smash right into the center of an oncoming formation of armored skeletons. You see like the green lights go out from their eyes as like 20 or so are destroyed by the explosion. And the engineers are kind of looking to you like, I guess you're the commander now, sort of. And they're like working as hard as they can to reload as quickly as they can. They're holding the morale together, even though their commander is dead. But you can tell that like they want to get out of here. They can see the hordes approaching, and they know they're not going to win the day.
Do we see the marshal anywhere? Is he barking orders yet, or is he?
You don't see him. He was knocked aside from that cannon blow. He doesn't seem to have gotten up.
Okay. How are other units doing? Is pretty much look like most of the commanders are dead and morale is quickly fading.
Yeah, it's horror. Like people are terrified. You can like, there's a really strong smell of ammonia and piss of people who have like pissed themselves in terror. This was meant to be like a routine walk into Sylvania, and it's ended very swiftly with a brutal defeat. You can see men are running from the lines, like people are fleeing, going in the direction that Gunther had fled in. But some of them are standing in line. You can see some sergeants like barking orders and like demanding they get back in line. You can see one sergeant, like as one of the men flees, like cut him down as an example, and the rest of them fall back into line. They're trying to hold the line together, but it's difficult. The spearmen are almost dealt with. You can see like a couple of the White Wolf knights, no longer formation, just like on the backs of the horses, like swinging their hammers. But they're covered in blood, and you can tell that they're exhausted. You don't think there's much left in this army.
Yeah. Will is not much of a soldier, though he's sold his services like this before. He spent most of his life doing other things. This is more of a newer kind of thing for him, so he doesn't really have that much here, and plus he's kind of here not entirely by his choice. So I think looking around, seeing not much left in the way of command, he yells to those around him. He says, "We're routed. Flee." And he wouldn't spend much time ensuring the safety of others at this point, especially with where his will is at this point. If there are any horses around with no one on them, he would try to use one of those, or otherwise he would just be running.
Okay, so you can give me a handle animal check as like a riderless horse is like running kind of panicked through the camp.
That is just a success at 40.
Okay, so it's like galloping towards you, this armored horse, like one of the knight's horses, this beautiful destrier sort of war horse. And you like step in front of it and you like manage to calm it. You can throw yourself into the saddle and begin galloping the hell away from here. So Gunther, one more stealth check, please.
Yep, that's a 57, which with my stealth is under 79, so
Nice.
we're rocking out.
Okay, so at this stage, I think we'll come out of the combat. If you can imagine, it goes on for some time. Like there are people fleeing in all directions, and that's probably what saves you. They don't all flee in the same direction, and so the army of the undead chase them in various directions. There are ghouls and stuff all over. You, Gunther, have managed to get away from the immediate area, like moving quietly, while you yourself, William, have been able, like your warhorse has been able to like knock ghouls aside with its like incredible bulk and armor, and you've been able to like ride through the village and away into Sylvania itself. Thaddeus would, after the battle, you would see the vampire lord walk around, and several dead specifically that he wanted, he would raise to become whites, and that would be Thaddeus as well as the marshal to serve in his army for the rest of time. However, Gunther and William, you would probably meet up in the in Siegfriedshof, which is like the first village that you would come to a couple of days later. So just have a quick chat.
I imagine that we meet up in one of the villages a couple days later in like a some kind of a pub or something like that. And it's difficult to recognize William. It seems like he's already put together a different attire and different hairstyle. But Gunther's able to recognize him. He is, I imagine we're at this point already sitting together.
Yeah, like Gunther has like a bandage wrapped around his head, like where the white hit him on the side of the head, and another around his shoulder from where he had been hit with the rock. Just trying to, as feebly as he can, which is not very well, patch himself up temporarily. And he's just like a shell-shocked soldier, like just like sitting at the table, like zombie-like face, just blank. Like he looks up to William, and like you can see like his left hand has like a bunch of cuts in it, and he's still holding the hammer symbol, and it matches exactly where the cuts on his hand are from how tightly he'd been gripping it.
Where will you go?
Back home. I'd rather live on the streets than this. I I'm not cut out for this. I never should have gone. What was I thinking? Like tears begin to like well up in his eyes.
You're gonna wanna get a disguise. You're gonna wanna change how you look. Get rid of that symbol. We're both criminals now.
Nothing new for me.
Nor I.
This
How
symbol
do you
thing.
feel?
I felt it when one of them came for me. This symbol, I held onto it and I could feel it. I'm never throwing this away. Not in a million years.
It's your choice. I wasn't there, but I was in the middle of it, and Sigma surely didn't save most of us. How do you feel about living on the road?
I've always lived on the road. Too poor to afford a house anyways. Nothing new for me.
Seems fit we'd travel together then. I spend most of my time on the road.
I just want to go home. I'm not this travelers. I don't want to go anywhere else.
Oh.
If this is what it's like to travel the world, then I don't want to travel. If that's what it's like, I never should have left.
I can tell you this isn't what it's like to travel most of the world. I kind of didn't even believe the stories. I can tell you I won't be coming back here. Well, no use sitting around. I say it's time we leave.
Yeah, any sooner we can get out of this place, the better.
So you guys make your way back into the Empire itself. And as you make your way back to Stirland, the first village you come to, you can see that there's like these newspaper articles all over the place. And you can see on the front page, like in huge letters, "Glorious sacrifice! Marshal Joachim Helbrecht III of Stirland and his army have made a glorious sacrifice in the crusade against the risen dead. By the grace of Sigmar, they have struck a decisive blow against the great lord of Sylvania, and now they rest in glory at the side of the gods. Further crusades are planned, and a great host is leaving from Altdorf. Sign up now." And that's where we'll leave it, I think.
Cool.
Yeah, so that was pretty good.
Perfect.
What did you think of that system?
Definitely makes you think creatively because you're hard up against it.
Yeah, I think you were probably harder up against it than is normal in this scenario. But I really like the the combat options. There's a lot of options, and it feels quite tactical, I think. Maybe if it was like not a battle, you would have had more options. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that it can be super crunchy potentially, depending on what you end up running in the combat.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting to see how like a more like an average combat rather than a military engagement went. But I do like the action economy with the action points. That was really cool.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Especially with not just having attack options, but needing to consider defend options
and movement and stuff.
And yeah, and I like how I like how to get better at something. You have to focus on that something. So just like getting better at one of your stats, doesn't really go into skills at all, and it goes more into the general damage, peril, etc. thresholds. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. That's kind of nice.
Yeah, so you can't just like buff up your agility and be good at all of the things that come with that, which is nice. You don't like necessarily. Yeah, I quite like it as well. You have to be pretty specific in what you want from your character, which I quite like. You have to like pick the skills.
Yeah.
I'd like to do another
say
one
in general. Sorry,
go ahead. No, you had.
I was just gonna say in general, I don't really like forced random character creation. Like I never roll my stats in D&D. I never roll my class. I never roll my attributes. Like I always pick everything, and I like that. I like being able to make the character I want and be good at the things I want to be good at.
Yeah.
Based on the character. So that is kind of a sticking point, but at the same time, it did build me a character that I never really would have built before. Like you don't really go into a game like this of like I'm gonna build like a dweeby commoner who's terrible like at everything but hiding.
Yeah, I think that if you were doing a campaign of this game, I would insist upon the random rolling, and I think you would end up with like a really interesting party that way. For a one shot, probably in future, I would say that you can pick, that you can like choose, because like it made sense sort of to some extent that you were in the baggage tent or baggage train and that you were here along with it. But I think that like it probably would have made more sense for you to be a warrior as well. It would have made the most sense for you guys to be actual Empire soldiers as opposed to mercenaries. But something to keep in mind for future. But I definitely think if you were making it for a campaign, that like your skill set would be really useful, not in fighting, but in other situations. You have like lots of knowledge about rumors and like stuff like that, and the stealth and like the folklore. I think there's a lot there.
Plus, if you're in a campaign and you start at basic, it would just be your basic thing that's random, because when you get into like intermediate and advanced tiers, you pick. Now you do have to pick something in the same archetype, but the DM can also, or the GM can also say, this makes sense for your background, so you can go and pick this other thing too. So I like sort of how that works for the campaign.
For sure. Like, for example, like if Gunther had continued to act this way through the campaign, then I wouldn't say you have to pick a commoner. You could pick from the warrior if you wanted to, because of the way that you acted, like killing that ghoul and stuff,
Yeah.
So that could be interesting. Yeah, because you can pick your intermediate and your expert and stuff. So that's kind of interesting. I really quite liked it. I would like to have known more rules before we started, but overall, I thought it was pretty interesting.
It's a giant book to.
The stats are freaking brutal. Like, there's like such a low, like the highest thing that like basically other than stealth, which I had like crazy bonuses for because of talents and skills and things like that, like at best 50-50, which is like when most of your stats are like 30s and 40s, like it's pretty brutal, which I mean is not a bad thing. It's a very different.
Yeah. If you use the 5th edition D&D where you're like, you have 50-50, usually DC 10, right? Before you even add any modifiers. And then like at level 1, you could have like a 16, 17, or like a +7 or a +8 or something, or +6 or something to a stat. Comparatively, like your success chances are way better in D&D than in this game. But I quite like that. I think it's like fun that you are kind of garbage at things to begin with. And I don't even know how much better you get at it as the game goes on. I don't think you like fly like your base stats don't increase from what I could see. You know, your bonuses increase, but I don't think that your actual statistics increase that much. So I kind of like that. It maintains a sort of difficulty. The thing I thought was kind of interesting is like how squishy the characters are, and like how you can get smashed and like start taking injuries real quick. I quite like that. That's like what I have added to D&D because I like that kind of gritty feel to the fighting. But
yeah, same.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think that you would, if you played in a campaign, you would also have to sort of like in a real, you know, Iron Age kind of situation, attach yourself to nobility because of the prices of weapons and armor. So if you wanted to get something like if you were a brand new basic character, just running around as a group of lowborns, like there's no way.
No. Well, I guess like the adventure would have to be scaled as well to like what you're doing, right? So like if you are all, I mean, you could easily have an adventure where you're all just like fucking urchins in a city and you're like trying to make your way up. But I do agree, like it makes sense to like swear fealty to a lord and then like maybe get some gear off them and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I think it would work really well for Westeros. And I think it would work. It works really well, obviously, for Warhammer, but it's like inspired by the original Warhammer game.
Yeah,
but there's a lot to it that I quite like.
Yeah, the only thing I wasn't so sure on is like you can't go outside of your profession for skills, I don't think.
Yeah.
So you basically it tells you exactly what you have to train with your reward points, which is like experience points. So
I wonder, like, because in the old Warhammer, you were able to upgrade any skill you wanted to, but you had to upgrade certain ones to get to the next tier. So maybe that's an option here too. Like you can upgrade other skills, but if you want to upgrade, if you want to go finish your profession, you have to do those ones. I don't know how true that is, but that's definitely something you could increase, because I do feel like sometimes I feel like the skill sections are pretty broad, because like even for like the sellsword, you haven't just got like fighting, you know, you've got lots of other stuff thrown in there too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't see the harm in like having people pay XP for other skills and stuff.
Yeah, one thing that it's not necessarily like a good or bad, it's just more of like a general observation, is like how much gear makes such a huge difference in like your capability. Like if I had like any armor at all, I would have been like way better, like in that, like in terms of survivability. And like again, like if you have plate mail, like having something like what the vampire had, like 10 damage resistance or something like that, or threshold.
Yeah.
Like that goes such a long way, which I mean that makes sense.
Yeah. In the book he had
like,
12.
It makes sense realistically,
right?
like
for sure it does, because like I mean, you know, you can't possibly
like a dude in plate mail, like how the heck are you supposed to hit him like with a sword? Like it's just not gonna happen most times.
Yeah, for sure.
I wonder if it would have slowed you down fleeing and all though.
Yeah,
that's true.
I think it might.
I'm kidding. I'm being a dick.
In plate mail. Hey, which one of us is alive and which one of us is a slave to a vampire lord?
Yeah, you got a few more times to die yet.
Yeah.
I like the basic gunpowder weapons too, because on a crit fail they have a chance to explode in your hand.
Excellent. Yes, that's perfect.
That's good.
So yeah, like if you roll a crit fail, you roll a d6, and if it's 1 to 5, it doesn't work until you spend a couple hours cleaning and repairing it. But if you roll a 6, it does like 2d10 plus something to you.
Brutal.
So yeah, that's
what was the injury that you got, Ben? It was like something happened to you and you were going to be injured for a long time from it.
It was like a compound fracture or something, I think.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had 3. I was rattle brained first, which was just minus on initiative. That's right.
Yeah.
That was like a light or basic wound, and then I remember what it's called, but I had a subtraction to encumbrance from a hit to my chest, ribs area. But then the big serious wound was the stress fracture. You can no longer parry or dodge anything.
Yeah, fucking hell. That's so bad.
That's so brutal.
So just looking it up here, plate mail, you cannot dodge in plate mail. So you just have to like take the hits, I guess, which makes sense. But it protects the shit out of you, so maybe, you know, it wouldn't be so bad. You still parry, I guess.
Yeah, I'd be interested to try the system like with a more equipped character.
Yeah, I want to run some Westeros where you guys are hedge knights, so you would have
Hedge
like,
Knights
proper
was
armor.
exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Strip all Hedge Knights.
Yep. So
I like the idea of some things too being a. Oh, sorry, you finish. You go.
No, go ahead.
Just with character creation, kind of on the back of what Jeff said earlier, like I'm very much in the same camp as him. As like with my character creation, I like to have an idea and then make it rather than get an idea. But I did enjoy having like a script kind of. It's kind of like in a script, like play this character, play this thing, and so you got to get into the heads of that, which I found refreshing and new and stuff. But I would maybe have like a few of the options for character creation, be able to choose one of or roll for random. Maybe not all of them, like maybe you can pick a couple that you can choose from, like profession or something like that. Especially
or maybe
for
like some sort of like standard array for the stats or some sort of like baseline something.
Yeah, I think that either you could do that or you could do a thing where you can like swap two of them or something, you know, so like you roll, because rolling down the line is, I mean, they do that so that you're not, so I think the idea is you don't have an idea what you're going to play until you roll it, right? So your stat array, but then sometimes if you're rolling your profession and you've rolled warrior and you have a 26 combat or something, you know, you're fucked, you know.
Well, there's a rule where you can turn any one of your stats into a 42.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think that you could do a thing, either like figure out a stat array, or you could do a thing where you can like place them, so like you roll in place, you know, which would work as well. And then I think that there's lots of stuff that is nice to roll, like certainly like the height and weight and stuff is kind of interesting, and like the distinguishing features is really good. I think like you had those bow legs, which I thought was great.
I read a book last night about this Viking dude who got like, it was like fantasy, got burnt, fiction, like got burnt legged as a teenager and like stunted his growth, so he was like disproportionately tall and gangly, armed, but then had these like scarred weird legs, and that was kind of like his obstacle or hurdle or whatever. And so I was like, ripped it off, because when we rolled this character up yesterday, I was like, how am I going to play like a 5'6" pikeman in the Imperial Army? Like, I didn't even know if they'll like let him in that short. And so then I decided, well, maybe something happened to him. And then when you mentioned something about the Bright Wizard, like being all like, what was he doing? Like, oh, please, my lord, you must, you know, take the Prima Nocta. It is a custom of Sylvania. And I was just like, how can I hate him? So I tied him into the, But I kind of liked. I usually wouldn't go for a random pick of height, but having to made me come up with like something for my character, which in the end made more enjoyment for me. So I wouldn't have initially taken that option, but being forced to, I enjoyed it.
It didn't come up today, but I think the dooming thing is quite interesting. You get like this prophecy that sort of follows you around. Like it didn't come up, but in a campaign it certainly would, you know, and like you would make it fit events that happen to you, I think, which would be really cool.
Mine was you shall not see the end.
Nice. Well, that happened.
Mine
was like laying rest in embers or something like that. So I definitely didn't have my doom yet. Maybe I have to get incinerated as a zombie. But that's a cool thing.
I don't remember what mine was. I don't see it on here, but
oh yeah, you got one. I can remember. I didn't write it down, I don't think, unfortunately.
I rolled the
overall the system is definitely like, I want to play more of it. Like it's like it's intriguing like at first, but like in order to really get a feel for it, like I'll need a couple more games. In it with like different types of characters and different levels of equipment. Like I would absolutely like be interested to try it.
Like there's this whole like madness and disorder sort of like insanity mechanic that we didn't really use much of, that you gain over, and like the more corrupted you become, you can gain mutations and stuff, because like chaos, you know, in Warhammer, chaos is like this corrupting magic force. We also didn't use like magic at all. There's tons of magic, like a whole magic casting system in this game. We didn't have any wizards, which looks
that would be cool, because the counter magic looks kind of neat.
And then there's like a whole section on diseases that you can get, you know, none of that came up. And there's fucking tons of stuff. There is an adventure in this book, so I might try and run that. I think it might be like fairly.
I will say, I do think the system would lend itself really well to a campaign.
Yes, I think so too.
It's fine for one shots, but there's a lot of stuff in here that'd be like, it'd be cool to really dig in and flesh some of these out long term.
Definitely agree. I think it's made more for campaigns than for one shots. There's a lot of mechanics in it that like kind of pay off the longer you're playing, you know.
I ended up random rolling a highwayman. like steal from the rich, give to the poor.
Yes.
I was just thinking that would be a interesting campaign too.
Yeah, like
Yeah, and I
especially
think-
with how bad the characters start, like
Yeah.
only seeing that part of it would I think would not really show the system off very well. But if you can really dig in and see how it progresses, like I think it would give it a whole different light.
Yeah, it's a game that needs a session zero. I think you make a bunch of characters, maybe you roll them randomly, maybe not, but then you can kind of decide from what characters you have, what kind of game you want to play. You know, I think we put the cart in front of the horse here. Like I was like, we're playing this game, they roll random characters, and that kind of was kind of problematic, you know.
Yeah, I think what you said about choosing stuff more for one shots and random rolling for campaigns makes sense.
Yeah. Right, I'm going to turn off this broadcast. Thank you to anyone who watched this game. I hope you enjoyed this. See you next time.